How fun. I've never done that. Okay, it's 6 o'clock, and I'm going to call the meeting to order. Rachel, can we have a roll call?
Commissioner Burkhart?
Here.
Commissioner Keith?
Here.
Commissioner Werner?
Oh, here.
Vice Chair Light?
Here.
Chair Eichmann?
Here. Okay, Commissioner Keith, can you lead us in the flag salute?
Ready, begin.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Rachel, can we have the secretary announcement?
Welcome to the City of Santa Clarita Planning Commission's regular meeting. I would like to offer some information to help you understand how you can participate this evening. Speaker cards and comment cards are available on the back table, along with copies of the agenda listing the items the Commission will consider tonight. Members of the public have two opportunities to address the Commission, either during the specific agenda item or if your topic is not listed on the agenda during public participation. Each person speaking must complete a speaker card. Please place your card in the tray here prior to the item being discussed. Speaker cards will not be accepted once the public comment begins on an item. Chair Eichmann will call speakers up in groups of 3. When she announces your name, please be prepared to approach the podium to address the Commission in the order you are called. Applicants have up to a total of 25 minutes to make their presentation. Each individual speaker will be given 3 minutes to make his or her comments. When your allotted time has expired, a bell will ring. Individuals not wishing to speak may submit written comment cards. And as a courtesy, please silence all electronic devices. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We've all had the opportunity to review the minutes from February 18th meeting. If there aren't any changes, I'll take a motion for approval.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. The first item before us is Master Case 24-134. Emily Rubalcava, is that right? Assistant Planner 1 will be presenting. Before we open the public comment portion of the public hearing, are there any questions for staff?
I'm going to wait until after.
Everyone's going to wait?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good evening, Chair Eichmann and members of the Commission. My name is Emily Rubalcava, and I'm an Assistant Planner 1 with the City's Planning Division. The item you have before you this evening is Master Case 24-134, a request for the construction of a new mixed-use building on Main Street and demolition of the Masonic Lodge Courthouse building. The project site is 3/4 of an acre and located at the three-way corner of Main Street, Market Street, and Railroad Avenue. It is across the street from the Jan Height Metrolink station. The applicant is Serrano Development Group, which is the same developer as the Newhall Crossings project located down on Lyons Avenue and Main Street. It is within the Arts and Entertainment Zone of the Old Town Newhall Specific Plan. The project was originally submitted to include the redevelopment of the Max Pool Supply building, shown in blue, the Horseshoe on Main, or formerly Soundsations building, shown in green. The project scope was then expanded to include the Masonic Lodge Courthouse property, shown in orange. This building is listed as historic in the Old Town Newhall Specific Plan. I'll touch more on this on a later slide, as it would require City Council approval to demolish. As mentioned, the project site is within the Arts and Entertainment Zone of the Old Town Newhall Specific Plan. The Old Town Newhall Specific Plan was adopted December of 2005 and further updated in May of 2022. The goals of the plan seek to foster a mixed-use neighborhood with commercial along Main Street on the ground floor and residential units on upper floors. For the activation of Main Street, uses aligned with arts and entertainment such as art galleries, theaters, restaurants, and specialty retail are encouraged in the plan. The map on the right shows the arts and entertainment zone in red and the nearby neighborhood zone in orange. The project is a full block development for the construction of a new 5-story mixed-use building at 52 feet in height, which is consistent with the height of Newhall Crossings and the Old Town Newhall Library. There is approximately 5,000 square feet of commercial along Main Street and 78 apartment units. There is a total of 122 parking stalls being proposed within a subterranean and first floor level parking garage. Here is the project site plan. There are 2 vehicle entrances to the site, one off of Railroad Avenue to access the subterranean level of parking, and one off of Market Street to access the ground level of parking. The project proposes to close an existing driveway on Main Street, which will be replaced with 3 additional on-street parking stalls. Here we see the second-story floor plan, which is consistent with the unit layout on floors 3 to 5 as well. The building is set up in an O shape with a central courtyard positioned at the middle of the site and surrounded by the residential units. The project provides approximately 10,900 square feet of amenities. The courtyard amenity includes a pool and spa. Other amenities include a clubhouse lounge with gym and a garden corridor, which is landscaped with an herb garden. These are all highlighted in yellow. Balconies are included with each unit ranging from 75 to 100 square feet to meet the private outdoor space requirement. Here are the architectural elevations of the project. In the Old Town Newhall specific plan, there are 5 architectural styles developers must choose from, and the project is proposing the Western Victorian architectural style of the plan. The architecture received comments from city staff and the city's architectural consultant throughout the design process. A few features of the Western Victorian style include decorative cornices with brackets, wood siding as shown on the building's entrance, and the awning shown on each commercial tenant space. The building additionally took inspiration from historical buildings such as the Southern Hotel and existing buildings in Old Town, such as the Old Town Newhall Library. For all elevations facing a street, the property is built up to the property lines, except for the property line to the north shared with the neighboring building. This one is set back in consideration for any future development that may occur there. Parking is addressed through Assembly Bill 2097, which doesn't allow local jurisdictions to impose any parking requirements on projects near Metrolink stations or bus transfer stations, unless there is a substantially negative impact to existing residential or commercial parking. In response, the applicant has provided a parking demand study which evaluated their specific project, along with the existing parking supply in Old Town Newhall, to assess how many parking stalls would be sufficient to accommodate their project. On the right-hand side, you can see a chart showing the required parking per the specific plan, proposed parking from the project, and the state baseline per AB 2097. While our code requires 156 spaces, the project is providing 122 on-site spaces for residential usage. This is a 1.5 per unit ratio. The same ratio Newhall Crossings was required to provide as per the 2005 specific plan standards. For guest parking, they are relying on usage of 20 public spaces, similarly to how Newhall Crossings was approved with the city's parking structure. Lastly, the applicant is proposing to use the Old Town Newhall specific plan parking in lieu fee program, which allows developers to pay into a fund rather than providing required commercial parking. As mentioned, the project is proposing to demolish the Masonic Lodge Courthouse building. A little background on the building: it was built in the late 1800s and used as a dance hall, then became the courthouse in 1932, and in 1968, the courthouse use relocated to Valencia, and the building has remained offices to this day. The building is included in the Old Town Newhall specific plan's list of historic structures, which was adopted by the City Council with approval of the specific plan. As such, the City Council must review the request for the demolition of these historic structures. The applicant has requested a minor use permit to delist the building as a historic resource and to demolish it. This evening, the Planning Commission will make a recommendation to the City Council on this. In addition, the Old Town New Hall Specific Plan Final Environmental Impact Report includes mitigation measures related to the demolition of historic resources. The applicant has provided a letter from the Santa Clarita Historical Society finding that the building is not historically significant. In addition, to fulfill the mitigation measures, the applicant is conditioned to record the building in accordance with the Historic Architectural Building Survey and commemorate the Masonic Lodge Courthouse by installing a commemorative plaque on the exterior of the new building, placing a dedicatory art installation within the residential lobby, and making a monetary contribution of $750,000 to support local historic preservation efforts. These items have been reflected in the conditions of approval. The project is consistent with the city's general plan and is consistent with the arts and entertainment zone of the Old Town New Hall Specific Plan. Additionally, the proposed project is supported by general plan policies, including promoting economic opportunity and new mixed-use development, to name a few. The project is consistent with the design standards of mixed-use buildings, such as height and setbacks. Moving on to entitlements, for mixed-use buildings within the Old Town New Hall Specific Plan area, there is a maximum floor area ratio, or FAR, of 200% of the first floor footprint. A project may request an increase to the allowable floor area ratio with a conditional use permit, as done here. In addition to FAR, this specific plan has requirements for private residential space, and the project is meeting this requirement with balconies. The specific plan has requirements for shared outdoor space as well, or amenities like gyms or pools. The project is providing 10,900 square feet of amenities out of a required 13,650 square feet. As a result, the project is requesting an adjustment permit for a 20% reduction in required shared residential amenity space. A minor use permit is requested for dirt export of approximately 19,000 cubic yards to complete the subterranean level of parking. And again, a minor use permit is required to delist the building as a historic resource and to demolish it. All public noticing was completed as required by law. Residents within a 1,000-foot radius of the project site received a public notice. An ad was placed in the signal along with signs being posted on site. 65 comment letters were received in total, 62 in support of the project, and 3 letters with concerns about the project relating to construction impacts and the historic structure. These are included as an attachment in your agenda packet. For the environmental review, the project was contemplated under the Old Town New Hall Specific Plan Environmental Impact Report and will comply with all mitigation measures, including mitigation measures related to historic resources. No further action under the California Environmental Quality Act is required. With that, staff recommends the Planning Commission adopt Resolution 25-03, recommending the City Council approve Master Case 24-134 and associated entitlements for the construction of a new mixed-use building on Main Street and demolition of the Masonic Lodge Courthouse building. This concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions as well as the applicant.
Thank you. Before we open the public comment portion, does anybody have any questions for staff?
I'm going to wait till after public.
Everyone's just going to wait? Okay. Rachel, do we have any speakers? Okay. Okay. At this time, I'll open the public hearing and begin the public comment portion. We do have a lot of speakers, and this isn't even all of them. So we're not going to applause for every single time. We will be here till 11 o'clock at night. Okay? So I appreciate that I don't have to say that more than once. Okay? If you're happy, what do we do? That? Okay? Just it'll really help. Don't heckle or anything like that, because I'll get grumpy. Okay. So I am going to open the public hearing and begin the public comment portion, and this is the applicant, Jason Telesso.
Good evening, commissioners and staff. My name is Jason Tollison with Serrano Development Group. While Emily's pulling up, we have a PowerPoint presentation. I'm happy to answer questions ahead of that if you'd prefer that. I'd just like to say before we start, though, I'm thrilled to be standing here in front of you. We finished Newhall Crossings in 2020, right in the middle of COVID, and it was a 7-year process approximately. We came up at the beginning of the dissolution of redevelopment, worked with city staff closely, and built a project that I'm really, really proud of. Probably the best project I think that we've built in terms of its integration into the community and the impact. And so I'm very excited to be standing here today to hopefully do this again, make another meaningful impact to Old Town Newhall, and excited to show you what we have in mind. Our group is Santa Clarita residents. We're a small development company, and we invest and hold our projects, so we're long-term stakeholders. We still own Newhall Crossings. I will also tell you that the demand for that project has been insatiable. Anytime the apartment unit comes up for rent, it rents right away. The retail is full. I think that there's been an obvious positive impact to the neighborhood that I'm very proud of. And you can see that by the amount of outreach that we've done, that what I'm going to show you today, excuse me, is the result of a lot of collaboration with staff, council members, key stakeholders. We have unanimous support from OTNA. There's a letter in your package. You're going to hear a lot of speakers tonight support of the project. So I think that hopefully shows you that we've done our job to reach out and put something in front of you that the vast majority of the community is in support of. So I'm here to answer questions. We can run through the presentation first. Do you have a preference of how we do it? Would you like
I would go ahead and do the presentation first.
All right, so let's have a short video, so we'll start with that. Emily, if you don't mind, click to the next slide. So this kind of will orient you to the neighborhood. The project is on the right there, proposed Newhall mixed-use development, adjacent to the Metrolink, within a very short distance of mass transit. And you can see Newhall Crossings just a couple blocks to the north, Main Street. As Emily mentioned, the style is Western Victorian, and this, what you see here is a result of lots of collaboration with staff, your architectural consultant, and council members. The quality will be equivalent to what we did at Newhall Crossings. I think it's something that we'll all be very proud of. Quite a few nods to the history of the site itself. This is the facade there is an homage to the livery that was on the site many years ago. You'll see that in your package. We have some mural artwork on the northern elevation that you'll be able to see from a long distance away that can really add character to the community. This is the Railroad Avenue elevation. There's Fritz. Everybody knows Fritz. Okay, let's go to the next slide. So just a quick recap of what the project is. 78 units, 39 one-bedrooms, 35 two-bedrooms, and 4 three-bedrooms. Similar unit mix to Newhall Crossings, a little bit more in terms of a percentage on the one-bedrooms, but we found that there's heavy demand for all 3 unit types. And then fronting on Main Street, kind of right-sized retail commercial suites. Through COVID, we learned a lot of lessons about how big suites should be, and I'm very confident that these will rent quickly. with retail uses that are consistent with the requirements of the Old Town New Hall specific plan. Next slide. Highly amenitized building for the residents. So the interior of the building will include a swimming pool and a spa, club room, business center, mail room in the lobby, fitness center, and then kind of outdoor barbecues and fire pits. Next slide. This is photos of some projects we recently completed to give you an idea of kind of the quality of the types of amenities that would be in the building. The architecture, our architect Anuj Dua is here to answer any specific questions, but generally we really tried to go out of our way to reference the historic history of the Old Town New Hall area. You get the livery is the bottom image I mentioned earlier in the video fly through. You can see the elements of that in the main lobby entrance in the project. And we try to work really hard to make sure that the architecture fits into the neighborhood. So that's was a goal that hopefully you agree that we were able to achieve. Next slide. So here's a 3D elevation of Main Street, and a couple of things to point out here is that just the variation of architecture and building materials between brick and hardy plank siding, and lots of different types of window treatments and facade treatments. I think will make it very similar to what you see at New Hall Crossings. Next slide. So we'll just flip through these. I think this is all stuff that's in the video and package, so we can go to the next one. Railroad elevation. Yeah, that's another railroad elevation. This is the northern elevation with the murals that I mentioned earlier. Okay, and then just a couple of comments on New Hall Crossings that I want to just touch on because I think they apply here as well. This is a project that I regularly bring city council members and planning commissioners to from other cities, and I tour them through because it's so unique, and I think that it fits into the neighborhood so well. And it was a finalist in the 2022 NAIOP Mixed Use Project of the Year. It's just a really good example of what you can get when you collaborate with staff and community stakeholders and council and commissioners. So I think you'll see in the images in your package that we're doing the same thing here. And the result is very high demand from the community for all uses, retail and residential. And so it's something we'd like to replicate on this project, and it's something that I believe we have. We'll go to the next slide. So that wraps it up. I do have some comments on the impacts of the project that I know there's some concerns about in the community. One of the big ones is sound. I know that's going to come up, so I'll address that head on. There's an acoustical report that we did for New Hall Crossings, and I'd like to just read an excerpt from that related to construction noise and the mitigation measures that we intend to impose here, just like we were required to do on New Hall Crossings. Just take a second, but I think this is important. So this says the construction phase of the project will produce noise levels that could exceed the city noise limits at the existing commercial uses surrounding the project site. However, most construction-related noises are intermittent, and even at a noise source as high as 100 decibels at a distance of 10 feet would not exceed the city's daytime commercial noise limits at the nearest commercial uses if the source duration is less than 5 minutes in an hour. Regardless, the city noise ordinance exempts construction-related noise from compliance as long as it occurs between the hours of 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Saturdays. Even though construction noise is normally exempt from the compliance of the noise ordinance, steps can be taken to minimize potential disturbance of the surrounding land uses. Thus, the following mitigation steps should be taken during the construction phase of this project. Limit all construction activities to allowable construction hours. All construction vehicles shall be equipped with properly installed mufflers, maintained in like new condition. Continuously or long duration operating equipment such as generators, pumps, and compressors should be located far from the surrounding land uses as possible, and prohibit the use of loud radios at the site. I'd like to compare that decibel level to what the same report references relative to the train that goes by 38 times a day The train has a decibel level of 78, and when it blows its horn, which they all do when they come through town, it ranges from 96 to 110 decibels. So I think the conclusion here is that the likely noise within the construction period is going to be consistent with ambient noise from the train and other things that happen around town. And so while we would like to work with all of our neighbors to mitigate the impact of that, I just want to give you some context of what the community is likely to see for some particular activities that may be noisy. That's not the whole project, but there will be times where that happens. The other thing I'd like to underscore is any restrictions on construction hours are going to make the project economically prohibitive. And so I want to find a way to work with staff and commission and the community to mitigate any impacts relative to noise that don't involve restrictions on construction hours. So I guess with that, I can stop and conclude my presentation and answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any questions for the applicant right now?
I do.
Okay, go ahead and I'll after you.
Did anybody from staff ask you to conduct a relocation study for the cost to relocate the courthouse?
It wasn't from staff, it was from a council member. And we did analyze that. It's significant because the house is so large that it would need to be cut in half. And then it's tall enough where there's no place to get it out where the power lines wouldn't be in the way, so we'd be relocating power lines. These are like really rough guesses, but we do have some estimates of what that would cost. It's prohibitive.
Do you have a written report?
I don't. No, this is.
It's based on a phone call conversation?
Yeah, because there's no like real scope to price yet. We would have to get into exactly how to do it and what the route would be and where it's going and a lot of logistics that would affect the cost. So I think the only way that it works is to demolish it. And had we been required to relocate it, we probably would have just left it out of the project. So we believe that the impact fee that was negotiated as part of the proposal to tear it down is a reasonable amount, given what the property costs and the accretive value to adding the lot to the site.
What do you mean the negotiated impact fee? Who negotiated it?
I talked to a council member about it who spoke with the city manager, and we worked out something that seemed reasonable. So this is before you to decide. It's this is just the proposal that there's some consensus on, but that's how that number came into the report.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Thank you for the presentation. You just mentioned construction hours, and I understand maybe cost prohibited holistically with time change. Was any consideration given between you and staff on maybe specific days? A lot of city events happen. 4th of July doesn't always fall on the weekend. Construction doesn't always stop then. The Thursday night events start around 5. And if construction's at 7 p.m. every night on the week. So if any discussion with staff during, certain city-sponsored events,
Yeah.
could there be pauses?
We haven't, and that type of thing is fine. Periodic dates where we're accommodating specific events. I'm talking more about everyday restrictions to shorten the workday. That sort of thing is prohibitive. But if there's a census event or 4th of July parade, of course, we've done that in the past. And I think you'll find, because we have a history of developing in Santa Clarita, we're pretty cooperative with the city. We're pretty good partners over the years. And when something important comes up, we always, are supportive of the event and we accommodate it with however we can. So that's no problem.
How many years do you think this is going to take for a full build-out construction time?
I would, just for discussion purposes, I would say 2 years.
Okay. And then have you had any type of negotiations with K-HITS, because they're literally sharing basic, it's hard. In fact, I was going to ask you if you have a rendering with K-HITS next door. I saw it kind of, but I couldn't tell which it was.
There probably is one that shows it, yeah. If you go to, that's looking from the north. If you go to this Main Street elevation, it probably shows it. Yeah, you can kind of see it there, but not great. It's behind that tree. If you look from the north, I guess that's the best place to view it. It's basically one story abutting right up to the.
Well, no, I mean, I know. I just wanted to see what it would look like. That's why I was asking
Got
for
it.
that.
Got it.
Have you had any negotiations with them to do any type of extra noise mitigation? I mean, they are a radio station, so,
Extensive discussions. There's some history there. We actually originally wanted to purchase the building, which would have been, I think, the best outcome in hindsight. Unfortunately, we're at an impasse on the price. And so we were unable to come to an agreement to purchase it, so we had to proceed without it. We've offered, dollars for mitigation, for sound attenuation. We are willing to contribute to relocation expenses. We have not come to an agreement yet that we feel is reasonable, but we are at the table for sure to work something out. I know there's a lot of sentiment that needs to be handled, and we're, entirely on board with doing that. The number that we were given for the impact is, there's no way that we can absorb all of it. So, but we're happy to contribute. And so the staff has been directed by council to try to find a location that could be used in some city assets possibly. We're happy to contribute to moving costs within reason and try to solve the problem because we're sympathetic to the situation. I just want to make sure it's not.
so are you willing to do sound baffling, muffle? I don't know what the terminology is. I did some reading today for construction noise that will help muffle the sounds there better than just what they have, or even, I don't know, and the radio station, I'm sure when they speak, we can ask about that to make a sound room for them, like what a studio does, so they're not in a position, because it also looks like it's not that easy for them to move.
Yeah,
And,
I mean, we're happy to contribute to that. That'd probably be the most efficient way to deal with it. I haven't seen any reports or anything that's specific about how to do that or what it would cost, but we're happy to contribute to it. And I think that's the right answer is, adjusting the broadcasting hours to, the least impactful times, regular communication from us to the radio station about when we're going to have particularly disruptive activities so they can plan around it. And we'll contribute happily to the cost to mitigate the sound. I think that's the way to do it. And we're a willing participant in all that.
Okay, I guess we'll talk some more afterwards. Yeah, Tim?
Do you have a schedule that lines out the major phases of construction for this, demo, foundation work, all of that? So we can kind of I'm trying to get an idea of the period of time that these noise impacts are going to be out there.
Yeah, we do, and what makes this tricky is that nobody knows like how much noise is too much noise. So, drilling soldier piles is the first thing we'll do. There'll be vibration and noise, and that probably will be impactful. But, are nail guns too loud or not? We don't have any specifics, but I can tell you like what's going to happen when and what I think is more or less noise.
And that's really all that I'm looking for.
Yeah.
I'm not looking for it down to a decibel, but
Yeah.
we all know that demo and dirt work and all of that is going to be loud, and interior finishes and those types of things are going to be zero impact on anyone.
Right.
So
Right.
if I could get a handle on the length
Yeah.
of time that's going to happen, it's going to make it easier for me to come to a conclusion.
Fair enough. I think just to kind of keep it at a high level, the first year, let's just say, is going to be a lot worse than the second year. And, the part that's going to be really disruptive is the earthwork, because we're going to have heavy earthwork equipment. We're going to be drilling soldier piles with a rig right around all the property lines. We're going to have excavators scooping out dirt and putting in shoring systems. And that process will be a couple of months, right? And then we'll start building concrete. So after that, 5 or 6 months of forming and pouring concrete, the subterranean garage, the grade level deck, the deck above. After that, we'll start framing. That's going to be another, call it 3-4 months. So that's the first year. Once that's done, and I would say that the first part is worse than the second part, which is worse than the third part, right? So I don't know when exactly that stops becoming an impact, but that's generally kind of the path. And then once we've enclosed the building, like you said, we're working inside predominantly, and it's not that there's no noise, but there's going to be a lot less noise. So that's, and between that and kind of the mitigation measures in the building, hopefully there's a solution there that works for everybody.
Okay, thanks.
Nathan, go ahead.
Sorry, I have one more since we're talking construction. I know based on the demolition, it talks about a haul route. Has that been finalized, where that haul route is going? I see it's in the packet spoken to traffic control measures that are in place, but I was wondering if a haul route has been established.
I don't believe so. I think that happens through the building permit process.
Okay.
So,
That would be important too, just because that's a heavy traffic area. Which way are they exiting with all that debris during? I would just be curious to see that.
I remember from New All Crossings, there was a lot of work that went into that to figure out exactly where would be the least impact. But yeah, that happens. I think that happens later.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, does anybody have any right now?
Yeah, I guess since we're on construction. So I saw it, just trying to see where it was at. I think it was in the conditions of approval, the draft. Construction hours are listed from 8:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. Are those going to be the construction hours, 7 days a week, or? I thought I read that somewhere.
That's only on Saturday.
No, I don't think so.
7 to 7.
7 to 7,
to
Monday through
7,
Friday.
Only on
City.
Saturdays is?
Then 8 to 6.
8 to
Yeah.
6, okay. And then, I'm just curious what the construction impact's going to be on Main Street for the other businesses.
Yeah, what we did when we built the project down the street was we closed the frontage in front of the construction project, and that's important because we'll use the area for staging for building materials, and it keeps the public out safe, right? So that is also part of the building permit process. But what we would like to see, hopefully, is that we're closing a driveway, we're rebuilding all the pavers, we're doing new landscaping, all of that hardscape all around the project's going to be new. And so what we did last time was we put a fence up around on the front edge of the parking stalls, used that for staging, and closed the sidewalk all the way around. And then we redirected foot traffic around it. That's the best, I think, the safest way to do it. And then in terms of, screening, the fences are screened. We have dust control in place. I think generally it was fairly smooth on New All Crossings. We're, heavy involvement with the building department and making sure that it was clean and safe. So that's what we would do here.
Thanks.
I have one question following up on that. Do you have to close down any portion of Main Street with that fencing that you talked about?
No, the street would stay open, yeah.
And then where are your trucks and your equipment going to be stored during construction?
Everything would be within the boundaries of that.
Within the site? Okay, so you're not going to block anywhere
Right.
else around? Okay, that's
There'll be
good.
days where, if we're pouring concrete or something, for example, the trucks will stage in the street. And there's just, generally, that's the only place where they can fit. But for the most part, it's all within the boundaries of the.
And then your crew is going to park where?
They would park off-site in the structure or somewhere off-site.
Okay. I think I want to hear everybody else before I ask any other questions. Does anybody else have any for right now? So what we'll do is we'll have you sit down, we'll listen to the 500 people that are speaking.
All right,
And then
thank
we'll
you.
bring you back up
Thanks for
at
your
the
time.
end.
Madam Chair,
Okay, yes.
members of the commission, before we go further hearing the rest of the public, I just two things for clarification. One is the proposed mitigation fee that the applicant referenced. There's no commitment on behalf of the city or the city council to actually accept that mitigation fee. That's something proposed by the applicant. And how that fee was come up with, that's between the applicant and whomever he discussed it with, but certainly the city council has not weighed in on that. Secondarily, there was discussion about staff has been directed by the city council. There has been no direction from the city council with regard to relocation properties or anything along those lines. What has been requested is for information to come back to the city council with regard to potential for properties that might be available for relocation. But that is the extent of the city council's action in the matter. There's been nothing on the city council agenda with regard to it. Thank you.
Thanks for clarifying that. Okay, I'm going to invite the first speakers. I'm going to give you the first three, so come up close because it's 3 minutes if you hear your name. First speaker is Robert Yunkin, followed by Dean Cox, and then Todd Tisdale.
Good evening. Thanks for the opportunity to say a few words. I am Speaking for myself tonight, I am the chairperson of OTNA, but since I have a economic interest in the project, I'm speaking outside of that relationship. I own 4 properties in Old Town Newhall, specifically on Main Street. I'm a real estate professional, a small business owner, also on Main Street. Heart and Main is ours. The Horseshoe property is ours. We have a project that is in with the city now at the old building across the street from Max Pool Supply to renovate that into a new concept. I think if you have been on the commission for a while, you would have heard me speak last year about the Shadowbox Studios property. If you remember that, you're going to hear an echo of the exact same thing, despite having an economic interest in this project. My belief is that Old Town Newhall is 20 years in the making, and it's 40% of the way to being where it should be. And you have to start asking yourself, why is that? And so I started buying on the street in 2018. I see the vision. I see the upside potential. I see how hard it is. As I guess a glutton for the punishment, that actually is exciting to us. And so we've chosen to take those smaller, more difficult projects on. But what you find when you really live on that street is the street does not survive very long for these small businesses because it's a weekend street. It's a destination. It's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday street. Very hard to run a business, period, today in the world of Amazon and everything else, but extremely difficult when your patronage is 2 to 3 days a week. My personal view is that the only way you solve that is through permanence. It's people within a 1 mile radius that are willing to come down and patronize on a Tuesday. I think this project is not going to solve that. You need a lot more than what this project will bring, but I believe in that so much so that I vacated my entitlement to build a food hall at my corner property for this project. Don't feel sorry for me. I have a fine economic interest in this, but I did ultimately believe that it is for the betterment of the street. The last thing I'll say is, as an industrious buyer, I've taken a lot of time to learn who is on the street, what they own, when they're going to sell, and be relevant and thought of. One of the challenges, one of the possible reasons that I think that the street is so far behind in getting where it ought to be is a lot of the legacy owners that really won the lottery when the city came in and redid this have been the smallest contributors to the revitalization, whether through investment dollars or simply through participation in the nonprofits like OTNA, at least in my time with it. And so I think for all of those reasons, this project is really something that is something I support. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Dean Cox?
I'm also here as a real estate professional, but speaking on my own behalf. I got transferred from Bakersfield, California to here in 1982 by the Southern California Gas, and believe me, that was a good change. But I remember when Main Street was a 45-mile-an-hour blow-through. You couldn't stop and do anything on Main Street, and when the city made the dramatic commitment to create a whole new vibe and shopping experience and personal experience for downtown Newhall, it was a big deal. It made it, it was important to me. It was important to the community as a whole. And as Robert said, when you then need to have the rest of the stakeholders there make a move towards permanence and making things that happen. So, yeah, as a real estate professional, I have some level of interest in that, but beyond that, as just a citizen, this is a big deal. The city's made the commitment, and it sounds like they're committed to the future with possibly other parking and other things downtown. So we just need to bring this all together, and I can't recommend more deeply that we move forward on this project. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Todd Tisdale. And then I'm going to call up the next three: David Rendell, Joel Donna Hi Kelly Thompson.
Hi, my name is Todd Tisdale. I'm the owner of Pocock Brewing Company and Pocock Brewing Public House on Main Street. We've been a staple in Santa Clarita for a little over 10 years now with our original brewery. We've been watching the development of the Main Street area for those whole 10 years, waiting for it to get to the point where we thought it would be smart to commit and open a spot down on Main Street. We did in late 2023 take tenancy of the building that was once the Reyes Winery. It's directly across the street from this project. And we figured, okay, this is a good time to go ahead and get down there on Main Street because we started to see the progress that was being made with things like Newhall crossings. I was really excited when I've known Robert for a while now, and I didn't know Jason from Serrano, but I was very excited to see that they were going to partner on this project because I believe Newhall Crossings was a boon to Main Street. It really helped support the other businesses that are down there that suffer on that Tuesday through Thursday period of time because there are 100 plus residents that live there on the street and are willing to walk the street and patronize the businesses that are there. So another project being built by this group, I think, is going to really help the surrounding businesses that are down there on Main Street, including mine, since I'm directly across the street, which is great. And we're going to have another 100 to 120 residents down there that can walk out of their apartment and across the street or down the street on a Tuesday evening and patronize the businesses that are there. I also like the idea that there's going to be another 5,000 square feet of upgraded retail space. So there are places for new businesses to come down there in the mind of the entertainment district that Main Street needs to be. The city has a really great vision for this block or this 4-block section of town, and I think that it has stymied itself a little bit with development down there, and recognizing that and developing a project like this, it seems like the city may be behind it, is going to really help, and I think it's going to help bring Main Street up to where I believe the city wants Main Street to be. I know all the other businesses owner down there want to be like this. So just wanted to give a positive review. I'm sure you're going to hear from a lot of other businesses that are down there. So I'll give you the last 20 seconds.
Okay, thank you. David Rendell.
Good evening, Planning Commission. My name is David Rendell. I'm a small business owner in Newhall. I'm the broker owner of Remax of Valencia, Santa Clarita, and Gateway. And about 10 years ago, we took a risk, and we loved downtown Newhall, and we purchased a property. And we wanted to put a boutique office there, which we opened up Remax Gateway. And then over the years, I was lucky enough to partner with Chef Daniel Otto, who is here in support as well. And he's created a beautiful restaurant called The Junction and a beautiful speakeasy called Sidecar. And in about 2015, as we started, developing our concept for an office, I was able to meet Jason Tolleson and Dan Mahoney, the principals of the Serrano Development Group. And they're very caring people, and they care about their projects. And we were able to see what Newhall Crossings was able to do for the community. And it's beautiful what the Arts and Entertainment District has become and what is becoming. And so I'm a big supporter of it. And Mr. Younkin made a good point about hours and working with Chef. We were the first restaurant to open up on Mondays down there, and now you see other businesses open, and we're starting to see more foot traffic. And so we've seen private investment, we've seen city support. We've been a sponsor of Senses and Light Up on Main, and if you know, Light Up on Main has continued to grow, and there was 12,000 people down there. So I think as a community, we should be extremely proud of downtown Newhall and what it has become and what it will continue to become. And so I'm just here as a small business owner to say I support the project. We need more residents down there to promote and to go to these local businesses and support local. And so I think it's going to be great for downtown Newhall, but for Santa Clarita as a whole. So thanks for your time.
Thank you. Joelle.
Hi, my name is Joelle Danahy, and I'm a board member of the Old Town Newhall Association, and I'm representing Aetna tonight. Ahtna has been in existence since 2001, and we have decades of service to Newhall. On behalf of the Old Town Newhall Association Board of Directors, we support the proposed mixed-use development on the corner of Market Street and Main Street. Ahtna's mission is to restore, enhance, and maintain historic downtown Newhall as a social, cultural, and economic center for the Santa Clarita Valley. Ahtna believes this project aligns with our mission and the long-term vision for the area. Our board of directors is comprised of a wide range of individuals vested in the success of Old Town Newhall, and we support the proposed development, and we have motioned and supported and taken a vote on that as a board. I would like to say that, as Rob mentioned, he is the chair of Ahtna. He abstained from the vote because he has an economic interest in this project. So I also would like to say that the motion was put to all of our board members who represent different areas, and no pressure was put on them. They all made the decision to support it. The project complements the existing community identity and preserves the area's unique character. We at Ahtna have seen the positive impact of mixed-use projects such as Newhall Crossings, which has successfully introduced a variety of new businesses, restaurants, and retail establishments in the area, and also members for Ahtna. Our Ahtna meetings are held at a different location every month, and it's particularly great when the members can see other areas on Main Street. And we even have it at Newhall Crossings at the optometry place. We all crowded in there and had coffee. The increased residential presence has stimulated local commerce, and we anticipate similar benefits from this proposed development, further enhancing Newhall's roles as a thriving destination within Santa Clarita. Ahtna recommends your approval for this project, and we look forward to creating a lasting relationship between this project, Old Town Newhall Association, and its members. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Kelly Thompson is next, and then after that, Lori Randall, Carol Fish, and John Lowerman.
Thank you, Commission, for allowing me to speak on behalf of this project and in great support. I have been a Santa Clarita resident for about 9 years now and recently took over the press room on Main Street. And part of our excitement in that opportunity was because of its location. We believe that Main Street is a thriving economic and diverse area, and by allowing projects like this one to come in, it's going to grow the community. Vacant lots don't help us. Small businesses, as many have mentioned, are tough to keep afloat these days. And by having more residents in walking distance, by having more jobs, by having more interest in retail and restaurant spaces, the rest of Santa Clarita will continue to come down to Main Street. We've been reopened for a few months, and some of our best regulars live within walking distance of our establishment. So by adding more of those residents to Main Street, I believe, as others have said, that those Tuesday nights that were not worth being open for, those Monday lunches, will become something that is the best time of the community, where the regulars and the locals and the business owners and the staff on their lunch breaks stay. They don't order Postmates to be delivered. They don't run out to a fast food establishment, that they have more opportunity right on the heart of Main Street. And for that reason, I very much support this project and this development, and I'm looking forward to what might come following it and how other developments and other businesses will choose to bring their business to Main Street. I'm, as I said, very much in support of the project, and I'm looking forward to the growth of Main Street. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Lori Randall.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Lori Rendell. I have proudly called Santa Clarita my home since 1974. Over the decades, I've watched Newhall transform into a vibrant, welcoming community as it is today. It has been remarkable to see the positive changes, and much of that progress has come from well-planned projects that bring new life to our neighborhoods. One of the best examples is Newhall Crossings. The project not only provided much needed housing, but also attracted incredible businesses that have energized Main Street to bring more people to the area and create a true sense of place. It's developments like this that help make Newhall what it is today. It's a thriving, walkable community that continues to draw residents, visitors, and businesses alike. That is why I'm here tonight to voice my full support for this project. I have every confidence that just as they did with Newhall Crossing, this developer will deliver yet another outstanding addition to our city and our community. This project will bring new opportunities for businesses, more housing opportunities for residents, and further enhance the character of our community. Newhall is on the right path, and we need to encourage smart, embracing, well-designed projects that keep the momentum going. I urge you to approve this project and allow our city to continue to grow the best way possible. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lisa, I want to ask Rachel if he's a speaker.
Rachel?
Rachel.
Go ahead. Yep, turn your mic on.
I would like to know if the gentleman with the baby is a speaker, because I would like to give him an opportunity to come to the front of the line to speak. That way he can take his child home. The poor baby's probably tired, but I would like to move him to the front if he's a speaker, if that's possible.
Where is he? Dave's going to go get him.
Okay, thank you. I just want to give
No,
him,
he's
I
not
want
a
to give him his
speaker.
chance.
He said no.
Oh, he's not a
Okay.
speaker? Okay.
Okay, so next up is Carol Fish.
Hello, thank you for allowing me to speak. I come to you today to ask and beg and plead that we don't do this thing. What has been so sanitarily called the old Masonic Lodge in the old courthouse, a historic building, for me is a beacon of hope. Today it's rafters. It's been there for 50 plus years. Last week I celebrated 37 years of sobriety, and rafters played a huge part of that. Granted, I don't go to a lot of meetings anymore because of my disabilities. But I always know where to point people. I don't know if there's some way to build around it, but to take that beacon of hope out of Newhall is going to impact thousands of people now and in the future who are seeking recovery. And I ask you to really reconsider about some way to keep that there, because it is a lifeline for thousands of people. And I beg you to reconsider. Thank you.
Thank you. John Lauerman.
Good evening, council members. Thank you for allowing us to speak. I'm speaking on behalf of myself and the Rafters Group. You talk about that it's the Masonic Lodge and the courthouse. The Rafters is a 12-step program that's been up there for over 50 years now. Just a little bit about me. I was dying 30 years ago. I was dead inside and out. I found my way to the Rafters, and a new life was given to me because of that place. It's a 12-step program that lasts throughout our whole lifetimes. It's helped hundreds and hundreds of people every month through the courts, and thousands of people every year come through there. Just to give you a little bit, the 12-step programs are a vital part of our community. Without them, where are people going to go? These treatment centers that are out there now, they send people to these 12-step programs. Ours is the oldest 12-step program in the same location in Los Angeles County. Now, I know it's probably unrealistic that we're going to save that building in that location, but I do ask that you guys consider moving it at whatever the costs, or help us find a new location, because I know that's not really what this may be about, but that's probably what a lot of people are going to say to you tonight, is that we need some help. We're a nonprofit organization. We don't have a lot of money coming in, and we need some help one way or another. We don't want the Rafters to disappear. So with that, Let's see if there's anything else on my notes. Pretty much that's about it, but I will say this real quick since I got a minute left, that I will probably guarantee that you or somebody you know has been through the rafters and got sober there. And I probably could guarantee that someone you know or yourselves' life has been saved because that one person got sober and wasn't on the road driving drunk or loaded. And that, you know, you could be sitting here tonight or not sitting here tonight. So we are a vital part of this community. Vital, necessary to life. So please consider what we're asking you to do. If we can't keep that building, help us out, please. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next up, the next three are Andrea Doyle, Ari Pearson, and Brett Avazian.
Hi, my name is Andy. I live about a half mile from Main Street in Rafters, and I came up there because I wanted to hear a speaker in 2002, and I didn't have any friends. I did in the Valley, came from San Fernando Valley, but I came up here to, and the community of Rafters saved me, and I wasn't. I was, you know, just a average housewife, going through a divorce, and in 2002, this gentleman was there. So many of our members that are here, and we go every week to our local restaurants. I don't know what they do without all of us going, and I became a foster mom to over a dozen children that are here today, that have created their own families and brought up their own children and became workers in our city, lawyers, real estate agents, mortgage brokers, teachers. And this is our community. You guys have no idea how many of us there is. There's like over 700 just on Facebook. That my brother comes down from San Francisco because of this community, because of the Rafters that's been there. And he does that every couple months because you can't find that. I mean, this is history that you guys just want to wipe away and get rid of. And this is our history. And we make this town. And we make the people better. This isn't going to help us. We help us. Our community in the community is Rafters. And they saved my life. And I watch the people that I helped bring up now save lives. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Ari Pearson? Ari? I'm not sure.
Yes, my name is Ari.
Ari, good. Thank you.
Okay. I'm here to state my support for the courthouse and Masonic Lodge, as you call it. The Rafters Group is what we know it as. I heard mention of relocations talks were had with other residents, but yet when asked, there were no concrete numbers on relocating us. The gentleman mentioned the power lines being an issue. The power lines were just worked on recently when someone ran into the wall right there in the edge of the parking lot. I am currently an electrician. It is possible. He mentioned cutting the building in half. What this building means to us is unfathomable. You see the shucks. You see the people in this room that came here to support this group. I just ask that you hear us. If helping us to relocate and save this building has any chance of being accomplished, please look into that and help us to achieve this. As for what the Rafters Group means to me and to hundreds of other people and their families is unfathomable. I can attribute my recovery and a status as a functioning member of society to Rafters. I went to that place living in my car trying to get sober, and it was in those rooms, in those walls, on those benches where I was helped to achieve sobriety. I'm currently a member of Local 11, IBW Local 11, and in less than 3 weeks, I will be an employee of the City of Los Angeles working for the Department of Water and Power. And I contribute that to the Rafters group. People come in not knowing what they're going to do or if they can stop, and just the love and the community spirit within that group is just, it's nothing like I've encountered. The fellowship community of that group. I don't know what I'm saying. If the building can be saved, if there is any way to help us to relocate, we appreciate any and all efforts. And that is it. Thank you kindly.
Thank you. Brett Avazian. Trying.
Like many said, thank you for having us and letting us speak. The gentleman was speaking earlier and talking about all the positive impacts that many business owners did that this will have. There's a lot of negative that come with it. I'm a member of the Rafters. I've lived on the golf course in Valencia, and I've lived in the Wash in Santa Clarita. I'm now a local business owner. I own commercial real estate here in Santa Clarita. I moved from Santa Clarita to Acton because of this. This isn't what Santa Clarita was. And I wanted to stay with those traditions. I still do business here. The gentleman had a lot of facts about the building, but couldn't answer anything about trying to move the rafters. So obviously he was aware of it. He was aware that it's a historic building and it should be kept alive. And if my memory and my hearing was okay back there, I believe he said that they donated $750,000 to support historic sites here. I could be mistaken, but that's what I thought I heard. So why don't you donate that $750,000 to preserving this historic site that's been in Santa Clarita forever? You question maybe possibly, I know the city's about money. I'm a business owner. It takes money to survive. I will say this, those small business owners that spoke earlier, as a business owner, this construction will impact your business for 2 years. If my business was there and Railroad Avenue or Newhall Avenue has a lane closed, I will tell you this, I will detour downtown Newhall. I will not eat at the smokehouse.
Or come talking to the mic this way.
Sorry.
Thank you.
I will not show up at those businesses. They have impacts on us. We're not asking you to save the rafters. We're bound by some traditions, so we can't discuss how we really feel and what this does for us, because that's what keeps our program trudging forward for hundreds of years to come. We can't mention certain things, but I will mention this. We're not allowed to ask anyone for a donation. We're not allowed to ask anyone to give $1. We simply pass something. If someone wants to give, they do. That's how we survive, and we've survived for 75 years. Shoot, there's businesses in Santa Clarita that can't survive marketing, strategic plans, doing all these things. All I'm asking for is to have them pony up some of this money. I believe there was $750,000 and maybe a little extra from the city, and you will get the returns through people like me. When I buy businesses, when I buy commercial real estate, and I reinvest in Santa Clarita, you'll get your money tenfold.
Thank you. Okay, the next three, Tobiah Nidich, David Doyle, and Scott Houlihan.
Hi, Council, Commission. Thanks for having me. And for us, I represent myself, the Nidich family, and the Rafters group. My family arrived in Santa Clarita in the 1960s when Lyons Avenue was nothing but dirt lots. Over the decades, we helped shape the community. My family built nearly a quarter of Lyons Avenue, including the Nidich building, Canyon Plaza, Newhall Plaza. We owned and sold properties like Lyons Wayman Court, Carl's Jr. Shopping Center, and several buildings in downtown Newhall. We developed apartments when there were nothing more than dirt. And now we're here discussing the demolition of a foundation established by Henry Newhall's own son in 1878. I stand before you not as a developer asking for new construction, but as the son and grandson of builders pleading for the preservation of history. My family didn't just build structures, we built streets. In the valley to buy a place, a street named after me was named, and my brother and my sister have streets named after them. There once was a Niditch Street out here that existed in Newhall, and that is history. Oh, I'm shaking. This isn't about opposing development. If this were an empty lot, there'd be no argument. Opposite side of the train station is free. Bunch of empty space there. But this is about demolishing Santa Clarita's history. I could profit from this. If the city builds something new here, my own commercial properties in downtown Newhall would benefit. But this isn't about money, this is about people's history. The city may gain more tax revenue from a 5-story building, but let me tell you, no amount of revenue can replace what happens inside rafters. You could stack 10 stories on that lot and it still wouldn't match the value of the lives changed inside those walls. Rafters is one of the last 12-step halls in California to remain in the same location for 50 years. Its name itself comes from the architecture of the building. Maybe the city doesn't know what happens inside that building because we remain anonymous, but I do. I spent thousands of hours. I've been there for holidays, in moments of despair, in moments of hope, and I've seen tens of thousands walk through those doors desperate for change. I stand before you with 29 years of sobriety. When I first walked in the rafters sober at 16 years old, a kid from Santa Clarita. That building saved my life and the people in it. Isn't that what history is about? Giving kids a place to have a better future. My mother, who helped build this valley, has 48 years sober. For decades, Santa Clarita courts have sent people to rafters to help keep drunks off these streets. We're not affiliated with the courts, yet we have helped this city more than most will ever know. Where are those voices now? Who is standing up for rafters today? That's all I have.
Okay,
Thanks for letting me
thank you. David Doyle. Oh, Scott first, okay.
Good evening, Commissioner, staff. Thank you for having us. First and foremost, I wanted to emphasize that, at least from my standpoint, our intention is not to stand in the way of progress, nor to impede the pending sale of the property located at 24307 Railroad. Furthermore, it's important to know that most all of our 500 plus members are registered nonprofit 501c3 called the Rafters, who attend meetings at the subject building, are voting taxpayers, residents of Santa Clarita, and as such, we're excited to see the continued work being done on behalf of the city, this council, and the architectural improvements to Main Street, the area known as, the arts in Old Town, Newhall. We appreciate the hard work of the Planning Commission and others in the spirit of progress to provide the area that is considered a destination for entertainment, retail commerce, and home to more citizens of Santa Clarita. For more than 50 years, the men and women who have quietly and peacefully met in the hall on the second floor of the subject building have done so in the spirit of anonymity as one of the primary principles of our group's existence. For many of us, the act to publicly stand here before you and expose our anonymity and our membership is a decision we do not take lightly. However, we stand before you to demonstrate our commitment and our primary purpose to help others. We felt it important and paramount of importance to stand here and to ensure the preservation of the room, the building that has been the centerpiece of recovery in the Santa Clarita Valley for more than 50 years. Although we understand it that the city is not yet officially, and we've seen some of this already presented, recognized the building as a historical building, it's evident that several different motions and listing it as a site to be considered, it should be. Construction of that building began in 1931 of what wouldn't be the Newhall Courthouse on the bottom floor, the Masonic Lodge on the second floor, wherein on that site In the 1880s, Joshua Newhall, relative of town founder Henry Mayo Newhall, built his general store, dry goods. Later in 1914, that building was leased to a William Mayhew. It's believed that that salvaged lumber from that building was used in the construction of the building there now, including the wood floor on the second floor. And those pictures I've provided everybody so you can just get an idea of what's really inside that room. That was taken from the Hapland Dance Hall, later known as Houghton's Community Room. Thank you.
My name is David Doyle, and I'm the chairperson of Rafters you've been hearing so much about. We have a simple solution. We simply ask that the city and the developer allow the group known as the Rafters Group to continue meeting in said location beyond our June 30th move-out date, which we've been given by our current landlord. As we have provided we will provide ample liability insurance or whatever they do need until such time that the location and plan for the relocation for the core of the building itself can be executed. The building consists of two parts, a two-story part, which is the main historical part, and the one-story part wrapping around the sides, which can be removed. Negotiating the relocation of the building costs from the portion of the funds pledged, as we heard tonight, by the developer to the city. Identify a lot, either wholly owned by the city or otherwise, near the existing site. Sites to consider are 22900 Market Street. The property were formerly known as the Senior Center, which will be granted to the city of Santa Clarita as of July 1st from Los Angeles County in connection with the adjacent Hart Park property, or an alternate location the city may deem acceptable. Or if the city finds the Rafters Group cannot occupy the building if it is moved, can the city consider partnering with Rafters in the assistance of leasing or other on a city-owned property, such as the old Senior Center or the old Roger Dunn building, which the city owns both. Either location has more than enough square footage needed for the Rafters. We only use about 2,200 square feet. We're not much. So only a portion of either space would be needed. Additional planning, as if the city wanted to use the old Senior Center, as we heard, maybe into a veteran center, well, that works hand in hand with the Rafters. It would be complementary fit for. We have so many veterans as part of our members. We have over 700 active members at our group right now, and we can provide valuable support system to many. Or if there are any other locations the city may have to suggest, okay, and improve, a place that we can improve and call home, whether it's a lot or a building, because we have the means or we can find the way to get the means to do either or. What we really set out today to do here today is we want to have the conversations and be heard. We really want to maintain our presence in downtown Newhall so we can continue doing the good work that we do. That's all that we're really here for tonight. We want to maintain. We don't want to jump down lines and run out space and jump down another place. Downtown Newhall is where we have been for over the last 50 years, helping tens of thousands of people. And I'm going to end on this note. I've been all around our country. Every state I've been in, Hawaii included, where I've been into a meeting and I announce my home group is Rafters, somebody always stands up and shares a story about Rafters because they've been there. People come from all around the world to see our iconic hall, the oldest in Los Angeles County. Thank you.
Thank you. Paul Radcliffe, followed by Frank Maga, followed by Carl Goldman.
Good evening. My name is Paul Radcliffe. I am a resident of Santa Clarita since 1989. I'm going to read to you something that I didn't write, but here it is. John Boston is the most prolific humorist, satirist in world history. He's lived in Santa Clarita since 1950. With more than 100 major journalism awards, he's been recognized as one of America's best newspaper columnists and editors. He's also written books on SCV history, taught SCV history for 20 years, and writes the Time Ranger column for the Signal newspaper, along with his Mr. SCV column. He sent this not as a representative of the Signal, but of his own viewpoint on the importance on saving from demolition the courthouse building on Market Street in Newhall. We like to read this into the record of the Council for the City of Santa Clarita. There are a few times in our lives when we get a chance to right a great wrong. The demolition of the historic courthouse building on Market Street in downtown Newhall would be nothing short of a major sin on the soul of Santa Clarita. It is one of the last truly historic buildings in our valley. In 1878, on its foundation was built the mercantile store by Walter S. Newhall, the son of town founder Henry Mayo Newhall. It was an old-time Wild West saloon for a while, then became the valley's epicenter, the Hapalan Dance Hall in 1920. That was more than a century ago. Big-time Los Angeles jazz and dance bands came here to play, and the hall was used for everything from community meetings to discuss cityhood, to bake sales, movies, lectures, school pageants, and emergency relief stations. It served as a morgue for the victims of the 1928 Great St. Francis Dam disaster. There's so much grief surrounding the storage of 70 corpses, people avoided the place for years. In 1933, it would become our valley's courthouse where trials small to great were heard. The 10-year hearings of the estate of William S. Hart were held here. It was also held for the trial of Richard John Jensen, the SCV's only known serial killer. Prior to that, the Newhall Community Players would start the SCV's first community theater there, and after the beginnings of the Canyon Theater Guild would offer plays. Today, the most beneficial Alcoholics Anonymous 12-step programs hold meetings there, helping thousands over the decades. Their meetings are on the top hall. May I finish or no?
Do you have like 2 seconds? Because we got a really long, no, that's too much, sorry. We got that in our packet though, that from John Boston, so I'm sure we all read it. Frank? Sorry. Just speak into the mic though, just because they're recording.
Yes, my name is Frank Maga. I own the property on 24258 through 74 Main Street, right across Market from this new project. Is it possible to get that picture up or not? To show it? Anyway, not important. Anyway, we've owned that building for a long time. It was built in, well, we're coming up on our 95th anniversary that our families owned that building. They bought it about the 1930s, my grandfather's, my mother's, and ours. And it's still there after the 94 earthquake. It fell apart. We didn't know what to do, but thank for the SB, I swear. They gave us a loan, and we refurbished it. And we made it in Spanish colonial style. I went to an architect, and I said, I want a Spanish colonial, and he showed me something like that. And I said, you're fired. I mean, you didn't even understand what I was talking about. And I don't particularly appreciate that design either. That's not representative of Old Town Newhall. And it's just not. Our building is representative because it is a real arts and events building. We have the city, the Mains Theater. We have 2 restaurants. And my concern now is with this new project. We talked about parking, and he said, oh, some off-site parking, and that's probably going to mean our parking lot across the street. No, I want to have a defined place of where you're going to put your trucks and parking. Every time something happens downtown, our parking lot gets full. So that has to be defined somewhere for all of your equipment. If you can't find anything on site, somewhere else. The other thing is, that was brought up that's nauseating, is that, well, dust control. Nobody's mentioned that. But if you have a restaurant across the street from this, as we do and others do, and they're digging around a bunch of dirt, and you expect your clients to sit outside and enjoy a lunch in the dust, we expect to have in your proposal dust control means of control, whether it's water.
Can you speak to us? Can you, wait, this way, this way.
I'm sorry.
Speak to us.
To you.
Okay.
We have many, many restaurants downtown, okay? So that is really important. Also, the downtown is a beautiful street. Equipment that they're using, they say, oh, this is only temporary on the street. No, their equipment has to stay off the street. This is crazy because I've seen what happens. They're going to be here for a couple of days. He lifts stuff here and it's there forever.
Okay.
That was quick.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Carl?
About 10?
6.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner. I hope later tonight you let us address two of the lies that were said tonight and during the presentation by the developer, but I'll save that for later. The proposed project on Main Street may be beneficial to our city, but not as presently constituted. The project in its present form will bankrupt our radio station during the 2+ years needed for construction. As most of you know, the project is on our property line. We've tried to work solutions with the developer, but to no avail. We hired a specialty contractor, structural engineer, and acoustic experts to see how we could work around the construction noise and other effects. We can't. All the experts agree there's no additional soundproofing that can be added to prevent the noise from overwhelming KHTS broadcasts. According to the city ordinance, the normally acceptable noise for an office building is between 50 to 70 decibels. Experts agree that the noise next door to construction drilling will be between 90 and 114 decibels, almost double the threshold in the city's code, and loud enough to cause hearing damage with prolonged exposure. We request the Commission condition the project with construction hours so as to create a moratorium on construction during the hours of Monday through Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. and noon to 1. We think we might be able to work around building construction during all other hours. At least we're willing to try. Alternatively, we request to temporarily be moved at the cost of the developers and/or the city. We made aware that the developer has agreed to make a monetary contribution of $750,000 to support local historic preservation efforts. What will that money be used for, and why are we any different? We found precedents for the city assisting local businesses impacted by development when the city assisted Consumers Furniture in 2003 by contributing $3 million to move them across the street on Soledad to clear the way to build the Cross Valley Connector. And the developer then also gave them land. During construction, we request city inspectors on a regular basis examine the tieback system protecting our building throughout excavation for the underground parking. What that picture didn't show is we're butted up. We're 2 inches away from where they're going to be drilling. We want the city engineer to do walkthroughs of our building to make sure that the developer's construction isn't causing any shifting on the building. We appeal to you to help us. The radio station's been the heart of this Santa Clarita since we've owned it in 1990. Earthquake emergencies, fire, floods, tunnel explosions. And so we just ask you that you don't allow them to damage our property. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Victor Pena, Danielle Otto, and Tony Mathis.
How you doing, guys? It's a little different when you're in the front. All right. My name is Victor Pena. I am one of the partners at El Trocadero. Frank Maga is actually my landlord. I'm here to just speak about this new project, right? I've been fortunate enough to be a part of this restaurant that's been around for almost 3 decades, 30 years, right? And I see both sides. It is very true. It's difficult for a restaurant or any other business to be open like early meaning like 11 a.m. In the past 20 plus years, 25 plus years, that restaurant has really only survived from like 4 to 9 p.m. Santa Clarita is a very interesting city. It's not like anywhere else. It's a beautiful place. It's not like the Valley or Los Angeles. As soon as 8 p.m. rolls around, it seems like everybody goes home, right? Very interesting. I do believe that this coming next door to us would be beneficial financially, right? Is it beneficial for the community as a whole. I don't have the answer for that, but I do think it's a great idea. Santa Clarita has been evolving. I went to Hart High. I went to elementary school out here. I'm very proud of this city, what it's done. Main Street is a destination, but it's still not where it needs to be for small business owners to be quote unquote successful. Outside of what we are receiving, we are supporting other families that are there, right? And it's unfortunate that we can't offer them full-time opportunities for the same reason that there's just no foot traffic, right? Even after being there trying the lunch hours, there's just, we don't even open anymore. Again, right, we tried it for the past year, pandemic came around. Even before the pandemic, it was still a little difficult. Now, technology, right? Everything goes to your front door. So now something like this being near to us, yes, I understand the struggles and I do see our business being affected, right? But I think that's just how anything works, right? It's that you suffer a little bit to just see a better day tomorrow. Yeah, outside of that, I don't have much other than I see both sides and I hope we can just come to an agreement that just works for everybody. So that is all.
Thank you. Okay, Daniel.
Good evening, Commission and team. I'm Daniel Otto. Welcome. Thank you for welcoming me. I've been a Santa Clarita resident for over 28 years. I'm also co-owner and operator of The Junction with my partner David Rendell and Sidecar Market. It's been a great story. You know, we started building in 2016, and we had the opportunity to open up on Main Street in 2018. And seeing through everything we went through on Main Street and all the COVID and just watching it kind of progress and watching the Serrano Group open up the crossings and kind of revitalizing Main Street kind of helped our business out, and watching the foot traffic happen. And it's been a big deal. So seeing this new understanding of this concept and this new development, we see positive change. And kind of speaking with the other owners and hearing other restaurant owners, we know there's going to be some trials and tribulations and things to go through with that. But I think we need to make these small steps for the bigger picture. Listening to everybody, I definitely understand both sides and definitely would love to see good compromise, especially as a local business owner and watching all my babies and my family go to school here. I teach at the college. I've been a faculty associate professor for over 18 years. So I definitely like to see everything work in its best path. But Main Street definitely needs a little bit of revitalization and progressive growth, especially as an owner and operator. And we're definitely in support of this vision. Thank you.
Thank you. Tony Mathis.
Good evening. I have a real estate company, construction company, and development company. I've been out here since 1972. I built a lot of stuff in the valley, and the elephant in the room, and I haven't heard anybody talking about it, is parking. If you drive anywhere in downtown Newhall, if you drive on Market Street, if you drive on Walnut Street, if you go up and down Main Street, I don't know where the depiction of this building is. That is not Main Street. Main Street's full of cars. All of the businesses here believe that they'll benefit in the long run, and they probably will. This project is great. If you like the construction, that's subjective, but where is the parking going to go? How many spaces does the developer providing for this project? Question. Answer?
It was listed in the presentation, sir. It was 122,
Okay.
I think.
This project, you have 53 units. There's two parking spaces per unit required by the city code, not even counting the 5,000 square feet of commercial. You have a 4-to-1 parking ratio for commercial. It doesn't comply, and maybe there's special circumstances that you're giving it. But parking right now is horrendous, and it will be. This is a permanent situation. As far as construction, and I've done a lot of it, you're going to go through a lot of discomfort. All the businesses are, and I understand that. Construction is going to happen at this site. That's true. So you're going to talk about, hours and all that stuff. Everybody's going to be dissatisfied. The businesses are, but the long term would be good. Where's the parking going to go? I think you should design it to where you've got enough parking for the future, just like your streets are wide enough for the future. Another thing you're going to have with this project is where are the people, where are the laborers going to park? They said, oh, well, they'll park outside. There's no outside parking anywhere. Where are the construction vehicles going to go? You can't have them all on site because this is a building that's going to take up the whole site. So these are questions that need to be answered by planning and need to be answered by you, or at least addressed by you. This is a long-term situation that we're going to have to live with. If you go down Walnut Street, nobody has a place to park within a 3 or 4 block area. This is the same thing with Main Street. I live in Newhall. I can't drive to Main Street to go to all the restaurants I want to because there's no place to park. So please address these areas before you say, oh yeah, well, let's go ahead with this.
Okay, thank you. Jenny Tucker, followed by Ash Mahoney and Judah Bateman.
Hi, it's Johnny Tucker, but it's okay.
Sorry.
I'll use the alias
I
Jenny.
tried tonight.
Maybe I'll be safer when I leave under Jenny. I'm here on behalf of myself. Thank you, all of you commissioners, and my wife. She grew up, born and raised in Santa Clarita. We moved up to this valley 15 years ago when we started our family. We lived in Stevenson Ranch. We never went to Old Town Newhall. I never even knew it existed. We, in 2021, bought a house in Happy Valley and started doing our date nights there. And we fell in love with the street, and we have a fashion background. And so just over time of going and eating at the Junction and the refinery, we knew our heart was there to open a retail store. So about 1.5 years ago, we opened a retail store. Super happy to be a part of the community. We're Ahtna members. We see the vision for the community. We see the heart for the community. Being here tonight, it's sad to say that I've driven past the Rafters community countless times being a resident there now, not really knowing the impact that it's had. So I guess my speech has changed a little bit coming up here tonight. I would say that needs to be honored with a relocation, whatever, staying in the similar area. I think that that can't be torn down, or it can be the building, maybe not, but what they've built in terms of the heart that they have for it and the people that they're saving has to be kept whole, in my opinion. Hopefully the sound for the radio station can also be something that can be worked out, because it really, that's part of being in a community, right? Is like supporting each other, finding good solutions for each other, definitely not taking away what they've built 1,000%, not for the sake of me and my wife profiting. We'll make it work. We'll make it happen. We'll do well. God will bless us. He'll continue to build our company with this or without this. And from what it sounds like, for 2 years, I might actually be regretting that I am in support of this. So please note, I am in full support of this, but not thinking that this is going to make or break me or my family. But I do think that it can have a place in the future of Santa Clarita in a positive way. But we just need to make sure we do it the right way, from what I'm understanding, and honor all of these people and everything that they've done.
Thank you. Ash?
Hey everyone, it's been a great meeting so far tonight. I'm really thankful for all the small business owners coming up to extol the virtues of mixed use, so that I can just say I echo all of their points. And also, please keep this stuff in mind next time a similar mixed-use project comes through, because I know, like, for example, Promenade Flats did not get that same treatment and love. But this, I understand also, there's nowhere better in town for something like this. This is such a perfect spot for a project like this. And I had heard about something like this in Works a little over a year ago and was really worried it wouldn't come to fruition because I had heard there was some difficulty with it being like economically viable to provide the parking that's like required by city regulations. So I'm really thankful for things like the Assembly Bill for Transit-Oriented Development and New Hall Specific Plan Parking in Lieu program that's making this possible. I'm also really glad everyone from Rafters has shown up to speak tonight because I had no idea what an impact what a big thing that was in our community. I just want to say gentrification is a word that gets thrown around a lot and has been thrown around with regards to Main Street a lot. It's only gentrification when the present stakeholders get forced out of their community. So even if topics like addiction are seen as unpalatable, everyone deserves like equal access to our community, and Newhall needs to continue providing space for public interests for groups like Rafters as development continues. And lastly, I just want to kind of say out loud, like, of course there's going to be growing pains during construction, but that, like, if we never build anything just because we don't want to deal with the construction, then we'll never end up with nice things. So even if it is unpleasant, we'd have to just kind of mitigate what we can and bite the bullet on the rest, I think. Other than that, I'm just really excited for this project. I'm so excited to hear that it's going forward. I really hope the approval process is going to go pretty smoothly, the construction is going to go smoothly, and we'll get to see all the benefits of this soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Judah Bateman.
Hi, thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. I didn't prepare anything specific to say, so I apologize in advance if I'm a little rambling. I'm not a business owner or anything, but I am a local resident. I live close to where this project is being developed, and I strongly support it. Newhall Crossings is one of the most beautiful places in the city to me. I enjoy going there for the sense of community that it provides, and it's always active and lively and beautiful. And it is that way because it's a mixed-use project and because of the aesthetic qualities that they pay to the style of the area, and I think this does that really, really well. So I just want to talk about a few of the things that I like about this project as someone who studied architecture and reviewed the plans. I really, really liked that they have a variety of different floor plans for the different units that provides a wider range of availability for people with different income levels. So that means that it provides housing for people like me and people who are older and allows for aging in place. With mixed use developments, you have a reduction in crime and more safety in the area because more people who are living there are actively viewing the streets, so it reduces the crime rate. Yeah, there are a lot of things. It's walkable. It's with regard to the parking, we have the metro directly across the street, so it's a transit-oriented area. It reduces car dependency, so you don't need to drive there to get to the restaurants if you live just above them. So yeah, I strongly support the project. I think it's really, really beautiful in a lot of ways, and I also echo the sentiments that were expressed in terms of trying to find some way to accommodate Rafters. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we also have 53 written comments. 4 were in support and 49 in opposition. The concerns were closure of Rafters and the demo of the historic building. So now I'm going to ask the applicant if he wants to come back up to go over any of the comments that you've heard.
Emily, you mind pulling up the appendix file? Yeah, I think I'll try to hit these one at a time. The most impactful to me was the impact on Rafters, and I think it's obvious the community benefit that group provides. I actually have a friend who was a member and changed his life, and I don't want to understate the value of that to the community. And so I'd like to separate that from the actual building in which those things happen. And I have to believe there's a solution where there's a place for Rafters somewhere and a place that works for them, and we'd be happy to be a participant in those conversations. So That I think that goes without saying, but I wanted to say it anyway. I'd like to talk about the parking. Can we pull up one of the slides? Keep going. Okay, so yeah, let's start with this one, and then we'll flip to the next one. Okay, so there's a study in the package that was done by the same consultant that did Old Town Newhall specific plan. And the basis for the study is basically taking mixed-use projects in similar areas, including Newhall crossings, and using empirical data to come to conclusions about the demands of the project relative to what's supplied. So I think that study speaks for itself. Generally, I would say that we build projects like this all over Southern California, and if we provide one parking stall per bedroom, that is typically sufficient to meet the demands. That's a subjective thing, obviously. There's a train station across the street. How many people are going to really use the train and forego cars? These are studies that are based on assumptions, and some of them may be correct or incorrect. But we believe from our experience that the building is sufficiently parked. If you flip to the next slide, just want to make a point. There's also, sorry, one more. Oops. Go back. Before that, maybe. Oh, sorry, it's in your presentation. I'll just speak to it. There's a state assembly bill that requires 0 parking within a certain distance of mass transit station. So if there's a 15% affordable set aside, there's a state law that requires no parking. So we're trying to find the balance between what's economically viable, what the project needs, and what's required. And so we believe we've done that. The data is from a project 2 blocks down the street to show what the demands really are. And so I believe that it's sufficient. And if there are any questions about that study or the assumptions made within that study, we're happy to get those answered. But we believe this is an appropriate amount. And then I guess I'd like to answer any questions any of you have about anything that was brought up in the speaker's session and see if I can address those to your satisfaction.
Commissioners, you want to ask the applicant anything or why he's up there? Well, you might as well.
Thank you for bringing that up. I do have some questions on, I guess, even going back to the site plan. It has to do somewhat with parking, which is probably what I'll focus on the most, and then a little bit just what I can tell just from traffic in general. On the entrance from Railroad, I know it's gated. It looks like there's a holding space for a car to turn in so that while the gate opens, they're not holding up traffic?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nope, thank you. That was just one. I just wanted to make sure. I already talked about the haul route, and so I just encourage city staff to make sure, I think as we heard today, it's important to the businesses. That's not where we want to be taking them down Main Street. So hopefully that will be worked out and not affect the businesses. I think holistically, I just want to say I support more housing, and I really like the project. I like Newhall Crossings. I'm a resident of Santa Clarita, obviously, and I am down in Newhall very regularly. I appreciate hearing from everyone tonight, and what I heard was not very much opposition to the project itself. It was just maybe elements of it. And I agree that to have progress, we're going to have some pain with some construction or noise or other things that are associated with that. I think what my focus is on is that to get to that point, and a gentleman said it earlier, the opportunity to establish parking now so that the future isn't affected. And I understand the state law, and I looked into it. And just to be clear, there is no affordable aspect of this, right?
Correct.
Or elderly housing, right?
That's correct, yes.
So because of that, we need to do a traffic study impact. And so in reviewing of that, I saw some of the other establishments that was compared to, which, I get you have to pick and choose. But, San Diego and LA and Santa Monica, aren't Santa Clarita. Sure. And so my concern is by being short, that it's the future business owners, right? We support the restaurants. I support the restaurants. We want to ensure that by bringing residents there, which is great, that is, and hopefully it makes them more vibrant throughout the day, that we aren't chasing away other customers because there's no parking there for the future. So I looked at the Newhall Crossing, and it looked like at the end of the day, if you went with the city ordinance, they were about 18.5 short parking from before, which from the study, it looks like you guys have done fine there, and it's worked out. But this project is 73 short, I believe, based on what was put up there. Based on what the plan, the Newhall plan would do at 2 parking structures, or 2 stalls per unit, plus guest parking. So
There's a table that shows that.
yeah, I just want to make sure I'm accurate on that. I'm pretty sure it was 73. Including the guest parking. So my concern there is when I look at traffic impact report, which is what's required to be exempt through the state law, it's taken into account, are we having an impact on, the exact word is on the local residential or commercial properties. And it looks at the surrounding parking and says we can take advantage of that and it fits our needs. And it may, and I'm not disputing that, I'm not a traffic expert. But I'm worried about if the next one and the next one does the same thing, and eventually at the end of the day, we don't have enough parking for all restaurants down there. We may have brought the people, which is great, and it's needed, and that helps Newhall grow. I'm worried about the parking long term. So what I didn't see in this study, and this is maybe directed to staff, is I didn't see where it doesn't have an impact on the local restaurants or commercial. I see that it can accommodate your project, but I don't know how that doesn't have an impact on them if we are assuming that all the current parking spaces can just accommodate what your project's going to bring, and what's that leave for the remainder?
Yeah, let me try to address that, and then feel free, staff, to chime in. So the rationale, I think, is that through empirical evidence on the residential side, we can extrapolate the demand for the building, and that we build the same amount of parking or more for those units. For the commercial part, there's an in-lieu program. And I think the rationale for that is the city's planning a second parking structure at the other end of Main Street. So we've got almost 400 public stalls on the north side, immediately adjacent to Newhall Crossings. And there's a site down next to Roger Dunn that I believe is planned to be the second parking structure to capture the demand for the commercial spaces and kind of follow the models of other sort of walkable downtown environments like that. I don't have all the history of how that was evolved. Maybe staff could speak to that, but that's the kind of essence of the study, is that we're trying to cover the needs of the project so that we're not exacerbating any parking problems, that we're servicing those needs on site, and through the commercial stalls are serviced with public parking, and we pay an in-lieu fee to construct new parking through the structure eventually.
Yeah, and I appreciate I'm not disputing the commercial, because there is the in-lieu fee, and that's clear as day. I'm more talking about what the city requires for the Newhall plan is the 2-for-1, and I get it. Maybe it's high. I did hear tonight that the plan was updated in 2022, so that really wasn't that long ago. So perhaps if we feel that we're high on our requirements, it's something we can look at, right, to make sure that applicants aren't coming in time and time again saying we're too high compared to other cities. But I'm just looking at what's required, what's going to be built, and what's going to be not built. And I do have concerns. So I did find it was within the traffic study. It is 73 short. So
based on 2.5 per unit.
Based on 2 per unit, yeah.
Plus the gas.
Plus the gas, yep.
I'm sure that's correct.
Yeah. So again, I'm for the project in the sense of I like what I hear. I do think Newhall needs this. It needs to bring residents in. I'm concerned that, I appreciate bringing up the city parking lot. Unfortunately for me, it's not part of the package. So if city staff wants to speak to that, that's not part of the project before me. So, sorry.
Thank you for the question, Commissioner Keith. I'll try to clarify it. So there is unfortunately, our hands are tied with the state, and we're looking at the state baseline parking due to proximity to that metro station is 0. So unless there is a significant impact to the existing parking demand in the area. And so we've required a parking study to figure out what the demand of the project is, which is what we've covered. And looking at our traffic engineering team has also looked at the study to confirm the methodology, and so that we are confident that the parking ratio that they come to for the project demand and what they're providing on site addresses that. The other thing I'll just mention is that when we did the Old Town Newhall specific plan, there was a parking study as a component of that to sort of help us map what the future looks like. The in-lieu fee is part of that for commercial. We also have an inventory of the parking that's available. And so we as staff are monitoring that when new projects come in. So this parking study had to take a survey of the parking demand. They went out and did on-street survey of parking that was occupied at the time so that they could understand what available spaces are out there existing. And that would continue for projects that come in Old Town Newhall, and we just continue to monitor it and ensure we have the supply.
So is it fair to say that future projects, as more and more parking it maybe is or isn't built, they might be held to different standards depending if they're, because everyone's going to try to be exempt from the transit.
That is correct, but we will still hold them to the standard of demonstrate that you are not having a negative impact on that existing parking supply.
Okay.
And so as these studies come in, again, we've inventoried it as part of the Old Town Newhall specific plan, and we just continue to track that with each project as it comes in.
Okay, then the last question I guess I have on that, at least for now on that, is their own traffic study at the end suggests doing a PMP potentially to regulate some of the parking on site. Is that being implemented by the project applicant, a parking management plan? Or is that not part of the project?
Those spaces will all be assigned to units. So I don't know what's involved in the management plan beyond that, but everybody that leases a unit will have an assigned stall.
Yeah, I understand. Okay, and that's part of it. It's just within your traffic study, the consultant suggested that a PMP is implemented, and that's one of the components, and there's about 6 others, including where the leasing agent parks and where potential lessees park, which would be additional parking if it's full. Let's just assume it's all full, at least for the leasing. So I would just suggest that PMP is implemented, since it's within the traffic study itself, that would be part of the project. And you're right, it is oriented towards your future residents. But since it's coming from the traffic, I think that would be something wise to make sure.
That's fair.
And then again, because I'm on a traffic roll and I apologize, the last thing I'll just say is, and this is maybe directed towards staff, has city staff ever recommended an off-site construction site established for parking?
Good evening, Commissioner Keith, Patrick Leclerc, Planning Manager. I'm not aware of a project where we've mandated or conditioned an off-site parking scenario, but certainly it's something that if the Commission wants to ask the applicant to come up with a parking management plan for construction as well, that's something that you could include as a recommendation for the Council to consider as a part of the project.
I think it would be good, and again, hear me, because not anti the project. We're talking about all the restaurants here, and I know in an apartment of this size, I happen to be in the industry myself, so I know how many construction workers it is, and to bring them all, there is the potential. And you talked about the stages earlier. Maybe early on, no, but when you get the framer unions bring a lot of framers at one time.
Yeah.
I mean,
at some point, they'll park in the building. So as soon as the podium gets built, they'll park inside
Okay.
the building. So there's 122 spots. That should be plenty.
Okay, no, that's
and then
perfect.
Before that, in Newhall Crossings, I can tell you, when we built that, they parked in the structure. So there was, here there's not a structure right next door, but it's 2 blocks away. So probably what most subcontractors will do is they'll consolidate their vehicles in the structure, and then they'll bring people down equipment and drop it off and go back. It's in our interest, too, that they don't take over the streets. We put it in all of their agreements that they're not allowed to park in public streets, and they bring workers in, and they don't impact the local environment with their parking. So we're happy to participate in those discussions with staff and have some controls on that. We would do that anyway.
Good. No, and I appreciate it. And you're being, very working. So just some of the notes that we've taken that you'll continue to work with staff,
Yeah.
right? Which is, it's good to hear. So thank you.
Sure.
I have a question that piggybacks on that. Sorry, Lisa. For Patrick, is the train station parking lot available for construction, equipment, parking, and/or worker parking to alleviate congestion for the existing business owners?
Well, parking in that facility would be a public parking lot. So I think if there were, similarly to the parking structure, if contractors were to be there and utilize those spaces during the day, they could do so, so long as they're not permanently taking up those spaces.
Right, but what about the construction equipment? Can part of that?
On site.
It
They
has.
said they're going to keep it
Yeah,
on
be on
site.
site.
We already asked him that. That way it's not taking up the street.
Right, but some of the speakers have indicated that it would overflow. There was concerns about it.
I'll try to
Yeah,
address
we
that.
should- okay.
So I think, what I'm talking about, everything is on site with the exceptions of things like we may have a crane lifting mechanical units onto the roof, and we would get permits for that. There's a process with Public Works where we have traffic control, and it's done in a safe way, and it's for the day or less than a day, just for certain activities that happen during the course of the project, but not regularly. Work trucks parked in public stalls across the street or in the structure. Everything else, equipment, materials we're laying down that haven't been installed in the building, that's all within the boundaries of the site fence.
The gentleman expressed concern about the Lexon parking lot being filled on the daily basis, right?
Yeah.
That was one of his concerns, so we want to make sure that that does not happen, because I'll be honest with you, I drove down to Main Street to pick up dinner last Friday night, and I couldn't find parking.
Right.
So, it's a real concern.
Yeah, I get it. And I think that's why there's such high demand for a second structure, because it needs it. The district desperately needs it. So the commercial in lieu fee is kind of meant for our contribution towards that, but we would like to see it be built as well. No question, we need more parking down there.
So in the city's parking structure that they already have, big trucks, work trucks, can fit in there? The thing is pretty tiny.
We used it throughout the whole course of the project for Noel Crossing.
It's interesting because I can barely fit my
I can
truck
barely
in
do
there.
it in my car.
I think there's a portion of the structure that has higher clear height than others.
Yeah,
so.
the exact same. Anyway,
No,
I don't
it's
want
really,
to. I
yeah,
don't want to debate that.
it's a little difficult in a full-size truck, just to be honest with you. So I'm actually anticipating that the pull-through sites are going to be used, and I actually feel it may hurt the restaurants because they're going to be there from 7 to 7. And guess what? Like Denise just said, she couldn't find parking. And I've gone down there before too and said I want to go to a restaurant, and I've driven around, especially when Canyon Theater is going on, and I walked a mile away in the rain to go to the main theater to another thing because there was no parking anywhere. So it is a little bit of a concern, especially with you guys working on Saturday. And I was actually going to suggest off-site, like they did with the mall. I don't remember what it was, but there was a shuttle that went there, and our mall is kind of useless right now. So I'm sure you could probably work, sorry. But have a shuttle that gets them over there. I know we did that for something.
Yeah,
that?
when we get to our discussion,
Yeah.
I was actually going to propose we condition this to have a parking management plan, both
With the shuttle.
for the residential as outlined in the parking study.
So you'll remember that.
Yeah, I've written it down.
And then-
And for the construction.
Correct.
So that we've got something enforceable.
Yeah, because that's what I am
It's just not-
concerned
It's just
about
not
that.
realistic to say that we're going to do this.
Yeah.
I've managed big construction projects too, and I wish I had a dollar for every argument I got in with a guy who parked his truck where he wasn't supposed to. So.
So are
Fair
you
enough.
willing, when we're ready to talk, we're going to have our own discussion, but to talk about conditions for parking management study for both the complex itself and then during construction? Because, when it gets into negative impacts with the street and the parking, I actually think you could kind of argue that there is going to be one. And with not your project, maybe the next project, but without that other parking thing there, there is going to be an impasse for 2 years. It's going to be painful for everybody, and then have something beautiful, which most people are willing to do. But I think that's something that you should definitely consider. I think we're going to, as a group, put that in as a condition.
That makes sense, and it's something we would do anyway.
Madam Chair and members of the commission, Mr. Tellison is still here at the podium. Along those lines, if Mr. Tellison would agree to this language, this would be PL Condition 13. Before the building official issues a building permit, permittee agrees to develop a parking management plan in a form approved by the director for both construction and permanent.
That satisfies me.
I'm seeing an affirmative nod. Yes, thank you.
I think he means yes, right? And then I did have, while we're talking parking, because we're here, you said you're going to assign everybody spaces and they'll have stickers or whatever to be there. So there's 2 handicap spots in the whole building? Is that what I saw? I saw an analysis.
It's per code. If you could pull up the site plan, you can see. I don't remember exactly how many there are, but.
I saw 2, but I could be dreaming.
Yeah, there's whatever the code requirement is.
I'd like to know what they are. I think it's 2. I thought
on each level.
Is it 2 on each level? It's not just total 2? Because I couldn't see it. Can you show me where they are in each one? It's hard to see
they're right
this.
up against the elevator there.
2 and 2? 4. Okay, 4 is better than 2. And then the EV stations. So what happens, because it looks like you're going to have 28 spaces are EV.
Yeah, I'm going to let our architect comment on this because the code just changed recently, so it's been a.
But this is what my question is. It's not about the EV, but so I live here and I don't have an EV car. So are those spots limited to that, or you're going to assign and I can use that space?
Yeah, it's just infrastructure for if you happen to have one.
So if you don't have that, it's not a
Right.
problem. You won't get a parking manager ticket or anything.
Yeah, I think that the code changed because there's some consensus that eventually there'll be more cars like that, and they want buildings to be able to accommodate. But if you had one that was not EV, you could still park in that stall.
Okay, let me go through. Anybody else want to talk about parking, and then we'll.
I would like to.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so I was looking at the parking study, and on page 6, it looks like they went out and did a study at 8 p.m. on a weekday and 8 p.m. on a weekend to determine if there was sufficient parking on Main Street. And at 8 p.m. on the weekend, it only showed a surplus of 4 parking spaces on Main Street. And so my question is, this parking study was done in April of 2024. And although AB 413 was signed into law in 2023, it didn't take effect till January 1st, 2025. So does anybody, maybe staff or if AB 413 was taken into consideration when they counted the parking spaces down there? Because that's, you can't, it now prohibits, let's see, I have the actual law written here somewhere. It prohibits parking within 20 feet of any marked or unmarked crosswalk or 15 feet of any curb extension in place. That's only on the approach side of a crosswalk, by the way. But then looking at the map that was supplied with the little green hash marks where the parking, and I know this is really hard to tell where those spots actually are and how far they are away from the curb, but looking at the photo, it looks like a lot of those parking spaces could be eliminated, not on Main Street, because Main Street seems like it already has those extended curbs, but I'm talking on like side streets, like Market Street and 6th, and what's the other one here that you have? So if there were parking spaces removed due to AB 413, that could impact the 4-space surplus, which I don't know if that would be considered a significant impact on the parking downtown, but it would have some impact. So I'm just curious, it just took effect January 1st, and this study was done in 2024.
I can find out for you. I don't know if they considered the new rules, the new Assembly bill.
Does staff have the answer to that?
Madam Chair, members of the commission, I don't have the factual answer to that. I can give you the legal answer to that, which is AB 2097. It's not a significant impact. It's actually based upon substantial evidence. There has to be a significant negative impact based upon the parking analysis. One of the reasons that the parking study is made in the first place is to try to see if there is any substantial evidence to make those findings under those circumstances. As the Planning Commission knows, Sacramento continues to chip away at local control and the city's ability to respond to the constituents' concerns, which you've heard here tonight. In fact, just this session, we have SB 79 being introduced, for example, which would allow a 7-story residential project next to major public transit stops. So this continues to be an ever-evolving world for us, certainly for me, for local land use regulations as Sacramento makes more and more determinations that ties your hands. Anyway, I'll get off my soapbox. It is frustrating, I think, certainly for land use professionals and certainly for those officials that have to approve projects or consider projects to hear the concerns of their constituents and then not be able to really do anything about it.
Okay, I have a few more questions on parking.
Is it on parking? Go ahead, because
Parking, yeah. So the Main Street, and I'm trying to recall, and I don't know if staff can recall, there's some parking on Main Street. There's signs that prohibit or beyond 2-hour parking between, I don't know, 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. or 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. I'm not sure if anybody knows what those hours are, but does that allow then for overnight parking? So if residents have extra vehicles that can't park, are they parking overnight on Main Street?
Yeah, so I would have to defer to our traffic engineering group who's posted those signs. I'm not sure if they have the answer for the specific measures, but assuming that any vehicle that would park there would have to comply with those overnight or the parking hours that were posted along Main Street and even in the structure and things of that nature.
Does the parking structure allow for overnight parking? The one, well, I guess we only have the one.
I'm not sure offhand.
Okay.
So how can we have not enough parking for residents and they have nowhere to put their car at night? Because, I mean, there's going to be overflow. We know it. Just people are going to, rents are expensive. There's going to be more people living in a unit than
Yeah,
everybody
and-
has cars. So how do we mitigate that? Because they need to put their cars somewhere. And I was thinking, I have the exact same question.
So I guess the way that I would respond is that, the parking 2097 creates a scenario where we can't require any parking. And so for us to be able to look at parking and ask for any parking, we've developed a policy internally and asking for applicants to provide a parking study that shows an amount of parking that would be required for their operation. That's what's been done here. So that becomes the baseline for the parking requirement for their project.
Well, no, we get that. What
Right.
I'm saying is this is a logistics problem because they're going to park on Main Street or go into the area. My daughter lived in upstate New York, and she parked in a parking structure 3 blocks away and walked to her unit. And that's what everybody did because they were allowed. They had no parking in her unit, and that's what they did. So what I'm saying is if overnight parking isn't allowed, where are they going to put their cars? That's going to affect his rental rate because people have cars here.
Sure. So I mean, on-street parking is where they would park for guests. Resident parking would be in the structure itself, and then the guest parking would pay.
No, I'm talking about people that live there because they have, how many spots do each
Per
unit?
bedroom.
Like 1.6.
I mean, also, for consideration, I haven't heard of a single complaint about parking off-site from Noel Crossings, not one in, almost 5 years.
I know they're parking overnight in that parking lot because I park next to cars that have 3 cars upstairs that are covered in dust. They have not been moved for weeks.
From
At
residents?
Newhall Crossing. Well, I'm just guessing because I don't know who would leave their cars like that. You can't really even drive them. We commented on it when we saw it. So is overnight parking allowed and it's just not being policed?
So, I mean, again, I don't know the exact limitations on parking, whether it's assigned parking stalls or whether it's on-street parking stalls. However, the parking, we certainly understand the parking situation. This is sort of the box we've been painted into and being able to, this is what we can regulate at this point. So we've tried to establish the parameters of what we can regulate and what we can't. And that's kind of where we are at this point with this parking.
Can't the city make a regulation that overnight parking is allowed in both of these places? That's what I'm saying.
Sure, yeah, if that's what the commission's getting at,
It's
yeah, we
not,
can
we're not
certainly
talking
look
about
at some of
telling
that.
him to put more parking in. We're saying that there's a logistic problem. Someone has to put their car somewhere, and they can't. They're going to run out at whatever you said, 8 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night. We can't have that. That would be a challenge.
Understood.
That's what.
And, yeah. And then I just had one other more of a comment, I guess, than a question. But I keep hearing this comparison to Newhall Crossings, but and I don't. According to what I was provided, it's 20,000 square feet of commercial with 48 apartment units. I know your presentation said 43, but that is a reduction of almost 75% in the commercial space compared to Newhall Crossings, but increasing the residential space by 62% with no parking structure. So Newhall Crossings had a parking structure being constructed with the project. So I was just, I guess, more of a comment than a question, because I know that our hands are tied when it comes to the parking. But I just, I guess I'm a little wondering how you justify this project in comparing it to Newhall Crossings when it is such a huge difference. I mean, you're asking us to provide a CUP to increase the floor area ratio from 2 to 4.76. That's more than double.
Yeah, just to answer your question or comment, the on-site parking is only for residential on both projects. And so the data that we collected on Newhall Crossings informed the parking ratio on the new project based on the actual use. So that's how we came up with the demand, and then we provide the stalls to exceed that demand based on how it's actually being used. And the study kind of details how they collected that data.
My other ones are related to construction, so.
Does anybody else have parking? We'll move on from the parking, or? Yeah.
Are we going to start our own discussion
Yeah, we
now?
should start our own discussion and do that. I just didn't know if we had anything. We'll probably call you back.
I'm happy to come back.
But you can have a seat if you want to relax. So now let's have our discussion.
And Madam Chair, members of the commission, if I hopefully can reduce the amount of discussion on one particular topic, I believe one of the speakers talked about relocation opportunities and provided a specific example that involved a public works project. Under California law and the California Constitution, as a public works project, the city is required to provide relocation opportunities for existing tenants that are displaced because of a public works project. This is not a public works project. This is a private project, just for clarification.
Okay, you want to start?
Yeah.
Okay.
So got a couple of things. Start off with the building, the Rafters building. I've been here for over 50 years, and I've known about the Rafters for about 49 of them, all in a positive way. And as one speaker said, it has absolutely touched people in my life over those decades. That said, the building's going to go one way or the other. I would like for the commission to, should we pass this on up to the city council, to express our desire to the council that they work with the Rafters group on some type of accommodation, relocation effort to maintain the continuity of that group, given its impact on this community for as many years as it has. I've been racking my head trying to figure out some way that made sense to me that we could condition this project to do that, and I just don't see how I can.
But we can recommend it to
Yeah,
city
but
council.
because that's a council function, I believe. So I think when we get to the point where we're getting the resolution ready, I'd like to add that in there to accommodate that. In terms of the historical nature of the building, there was nobody here from the Historical Society tonight, but they wrote a pretty good letter to the commission on that. I've spoken to several board members of the Historical Society about this, and they concur that physically moving the building is not really feasible.
Well, I have a problem with that. I have a big problem with that. There's been no hard study talking about the cost of the relocation. And on the one hand, they say it's not of historical value, but the city staff says it's of historical value. So that is a question of fact that has to be determined first before,
I get that, but all I'm saying is, and I'm not the person to make that determination of fact, but I put a lot of weight behind the Historical Society, and they've made that determination that the historical value is far overburdened by costs of relocating it.
But we don't have a number on the cost. How can we?
I think we need a real report to show what it really would costs to move it, and I think we should put that in there too, so it actually gets considered again up at the council level as well.
Yeah, I get that there's not an actual project bid and study and engineering design for having to do all that to pin the costs down. But I think knowledgeable people can look at the structure and determine whether or not it's ballpark ranges of what this is. And I'll just use this as an example. The developer's willing to throw $750,000 not to move it, so you know it's going to be more than that by a substantial amount.
Was that why decisions are being made? Because the Historical Society is thinking that 750 may be going to the, I don't know, I don't know if that was a random, is that a random number? I don't know.
That's not even where I'm going, Lisa. The Historical Society, I'm only acknowledging their historical expertise in the valley.
But why'd they put it in 2018? They put it in the historical ordinance. That was one of the properties when we were doing it that was listed. So it was historical in 2018, and now it's not historical in 2025? I don't.
That's also why the ordinance has the.
They can pull it in and take it out.
Exactly.
I understand that, and I don't know, did they just put it in randomly just in case they wanted to keep it historical? I don't know.
Well, I don't think they did, because the original list was 43 structures. And then right before the ordinance was approved, it was dropped down to 11 structures. So clearly some were cast aside.
So they considered that important.
Right, so it made the cut. So, you have to ask yourself what happened between 2013 and 2025 to make it non-historical.
Yeah. I mean, the sad part too is we don't get to make this decision anyway. The city council gets to decide to pull it off. So we could just make a recommendation that they don't have to listen to, because we don't have any purview in this, right? If
that's what the commission wants to do, is to, make a recommendation that they know is going to be ignored. I'm just saying, for purposes of discussion amongst the five of us, we've got the leading historical association of the community saying that historical value is minimal because of significant changes that have been made to the building over all that time. A building that was largely, the part that you want to keep was built in the 1880s and ain't going to be easy to move. So I'm just saying, from that standpoint, the whole fee or whatever that $750,000 is, I don't know where that came from, who determined that, or where that's going.
Yeah, who does it go to?
It's also none of my concern sitting
really
here.
described in there. It's kind of vague.
Yeah, I think that's.
And that's not going to be our thing anyway, because we
this was
can't determine money going.
You want to restate that, Carl, what you said so easily before?
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the commission. Again, the $750,000 fee was something that was proposed by the applicant. I realize that the applicant made a declaration that it was somehow negotiated over the phone or whatever it is. That may be the case with some particular public official. Certainly that is not the direction from the city council. There is no commitment from the city to actually accept that amount or to make any determination whatsoever. As has been discussed, this is a recommendation from the Planning Commission to the City Council in an advisory function. My suggestion would be that if you have interest in suggesting to the City Council that it consider helping the rafters or determining whether there's a cost involved with moving the building or whatever it might be, to include that in the minutes, not in the actual resolution for consideration and potential adoption by the Planning Commission. And the reason for that is that will give staff an opportunity to explain to the City Council about exactly what the Planning Commission's decisions were and wishes were with regard to those specific items, and respond to them in a staff report to the City Council. As has been discussed, this is completely within the discretion of the City Council to make a determination whether or not this particular building is historical or not. And certainly there are different factors that could feed into that. Sitting here, I can't, there's a legal process for that, which is why we're here and why the Planning Commission is making recommendations based upon the draft documents that are in front of you. The one thing that I would suggest has been discussed and has been agreed to by the applicant, unless he's redeciding, but I'm not going to make him come up here to reconfirm. He's already confirmed the one condition that has to do with the parking management plan, which we discussed and has been read into the record. So if that's something that the commission is interested in adding in, that is certainly within your scope of authority to add in.
And I have a question though. if this, let's say it gets approved at city council in a couple weeks, what would be the first day realistically, if everything goes through perfectly and there's no pushback and it doesn't get reheard or anything, that they would be breaking ground on there? What date? If everything goes perfectly?
I don't know.
Is it going to be in June? That's what I'm saying, because we've got them getting kicked out rafters in June. That's why I'm saying, is there anything that we can do on that to say that they can stay there till however close to that date? So maybe they have a little bit more time, even if it's the city helping them find it or they're looking for places. Because again, I think that all touches our heart. And I know they have to get out, and I think they know that too. But if they could stay as long as possible, is that something that we can put in as some type of condition if we ask the applicant if he's willing to let them stay there till the very bitter end?
Absent the applicant agreeing to something on the record, that's not really something.
Well, we're going to bring him up if that's something we can do.
But let me make this observation as a practical matter, based upon my experience, and Mr. Leclerc can correct me if I'm wrong. Just getting the building plans through the process in order to have a building permit issued is unlikely to happen until at least June.
Okay.
Ordinarily, when they're even submitted, and I don't know what state they're in right now, I mean, they could be 50% done or 60% done or whatever they might be, but it is, in my entire career, I've never seen building plans be approved the first time through. So
I guess I'm just asking you if we can put a condition in our recommendation to city council that we would like, and we'll bring the applicant up and ask him if he could agree, but can we even ask him to do that, to leave rafters there till the bitter
I think,
end?
again, this should be part of the planning commission's wish list to the city council, as opposed to an actual condition within the resolution. So certainly, that is something that will be conveyed to the city council, and the staff will respond to and put flesh onto in the staff report when it goes to the city council. And I think certainly the city council will hear from the same folks that are here tonight in terms of expressing their.
Yeah, it's going to be a duplicate meeting for them.
Well, it may be bigger. I don't know.
Hopefully, yeah.
In that same vein of the wish list to the council of what we'd like them to consider, I know the issues with KHTS are being discussed at the council, and I would like for the commission to make that same statement to the council on their issues, whether it be relocation assistance or whatever they work out, because again, that will be something worked out between the Goldmans and
Yeah.
council.
Because one of the things I was going to ask for is having them limit those construction, but they said, no, they're not going to do that, and it's too many hours. It's too many hours.
That's just
It'll make the project go for 4 years instead of 2.
Well, I had a question about that because the applicant said the construction hours were 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday, 8 to 6 on Saturday, and the Goldman said that they wanted to limit the hours from 6 to 9 and 12 to 1. So the question popped in my head, what if construction hours were 9 a.m. to 9 p.m.? That gets rid of 2 hours of construction for the Goldmans in the morning. That accommodates them. They only have to deal with the 1 hour. They have to deal with the 1 hour of construction in the afternoon, and it gives the applicant the full day's work. I don't know if that's possible, but that seems like a reasonable mediation ground between the two parties so that that could happen.
The thing with the 9 at night, though, is going to affect the restaurants a lot, too.
I would
Because
just-
Friday night, you're going to never go down there. I'm not going to want to go down there late at.
I was just trying to
I
problem
know.
solve.
Yeah,
I'm looking at the other people that are
It's a
going to be
great thing to
hurt by
talk
that.
about, but
Yeah.
having been in construction my whole life, construction doesn't work that way.
They're not going to want to work at.
Well,
9
it's not even that. The rest of the supply
The
chain and
deliveries, you're right.
infrastructure and everything else that goes along with it pretty much goes from 7 to 3.
Yeah.
So, but again, I think the council can work something out with.
Yeah, because they're going to be the ones that are going to have to decide how to.
The one thing I would like to enter as a condition would be to have the applicant be responsible for monitoring the building that KHTS is located in
I
during
wrote that down
construction.
too. I agree. I wrote
I'm
that
very
down.
concerned about the age of that building, the way it was built, the
2 inches away.
materials, the materials, the soils, and everything else around it. And I think that we probably ought to get building and safety to use that language that we've so often used to the satisfaction of the building official to impose that on the project. I don't think it's fair to have the radio station have to pay to
Correct.
watch over somebody potentially damaging their building
Because they may not even know that something's getting damaged without someone there that, especially if
Chair.
they're off-site and they're not even there. If they do get relocated, they're not going to be watching what happens over there, and that could be a little devastating for them.
Ideally, you find it before it becomes apparent to
I know,
radio
but it's just, yeah, they need a professional to be able to do that.
Once you continue discussions, let me.
You're thinking, you're processing? Okay, what else does everybody have? Because I'm taking notes, but,
I think that wraps me up.
okay.
I just wanted to add one, sorry.
Go ahead.
We talked about it earlier, but just that city council considers having city staff instruct them, give the applicant plenty of warning for city events. It's expensive to get construction to stop and go, so the applicant deserves to have plenty of warning. And we should have the calendar out. We know the Thursday night events, we know the lighting of the tree events or whatever it may be. That way they know when they should maybe shorten their hours. And again, not holistically, but for certain events. So maybe that could be something that city staff can, or that council can instruct.
That could be on a wish list, too.
Sure, that's what I mean. That not a condition tonight, a wish list for them to consider. Sorry, Denise.
That's okay. I wrote down overnight parking permitted in the structure for permitted residents only 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. so that if there is overflow, they'll have like a little sticker that says that they're overflow residential parking for the structure during certain hours to alleviate.
So if you work in
parking
your
concern.
office, you have to move your car.
What's that? 8 p.m. till 8 a.m.
I thought the residential parking area had a transponder or
We do.
gate
He's
control.
talking about the overflow residents, if they're parking in
Oh, on
the
the
street.
street.
Right.
Or
The street
in the
resident.
city parking, yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
To maybe mitigate some parking hassles overnight, to maybe recommend that
So when you.
if you have a guest.
But if
and
you
there's-
if you work out of your house and you're like, you have the third car, so you're not there.
You gotta
at
figure
8
it out.
o'clock, you gotta move your car to a 2-hour spot. That's kind of legit. That's why I was just saying they should allow overnight parking, but.
That's fine. I think we should have some provision where there's some way of monitoring who's parking in the structure and that it's those people.
Yeah, I think the 2-hour parking is only on Main Street.
Yeah.
So the parking structure is probably just, you could just park
I
there.
think the structure is limited to the residents.
No, I'm talking about the public parking
Public
structure.
down the
the other end
street,
of the
yeah.
block?
Right.
Yeah.
So if
You
they
know
have,
they're gonna use
if they
that.
have, if it's a 3-bedroom apartment and they have 4 cars, they're going to have one of those cars park somewhere.
Yeah.
And to keep them off the street, should we give them a sticker that allows them to park in that public structure overnight during a certain period of time?
Madam Chair and members of the commission, 2 things. One is I have suggested language with regard to the
good.
structural integrity of the neighboring building, but with regard to this particular discussion, I think staff is taking notes and we can make sure that it's part of the parking management plan that the applicant has already agreed to. So we will figure it out on a local scale, let's put it that way, in the immediately affected area, if that's okay.
Yep.
With regard to the neighboring building, my suggestion would be to add a additional condition, which would be PC2. Before the building official issues a building permit, the permittee must provide a plan for the director's approval to ensure structural integrity of immediately adjacent structures during construction.
Okay. I like that, yeah.
That's what I was looking for.
PC2.
PC2. And the other one I had originally said was PL13, but
13.
it's actually PC1.
Oh, it's PC1?
Correct.
It's not PL13?
Well, PC is Planning Commission, the PL.
I know, but
It was my bad.
it's hard to do this and take notes, so. Okay. Do we have anything else we want to discuss? Do we want to ask the applicant anything?
I'm good.
Anybody?
I would just also like to ask if city staff can investigate whether the library can be considered either a temporary or a permanent, or a part of the library could be used to accommodate the rafters crew. I think it's important to find them accommodation. Maybe the library has a separate segregated area It keeps them in their proximity to their current meeting space. Maybe that's something that we can investigate.
Or the senior center, because it's going to get transferred to the city right around the time they have to move out. And I don't know what they're doing with that yet, but it's going to be relatively empty space for a little bit. So I think we should put something on our wish list that they look at that. And I'm sure they'll think of those things too.
That's why I
Those are the
said
two obvious points.
they need to work it out, because and a couple of speakers mentioned, and I could not agree more, what we don't want to get in is a situation of bumping them every 60 or 90 days.
No, that would be horrible.
Happens.
Right.
Let's figure out a plan and make it work. And you know, I know that there might be some sensitivities raised with regard to the library, and just because the library is a sensitive space. So
They're shaking their heads, so I
Yeah.
think they agree.
yeah, let's not ask for it.
But the senior center looks like it's an empty
Yes.
building. City, it's going to get transferred over right when they have to vacate, so that may be.
And
I was looking for a big place. I was thinking a real-life church. I have no affiliation with it, but when I heard you guys want to stay in the area, I just said, okay.
one of the speakers
It's a big
mentioned,
place.
and I've heard this around town, that there's potential for the senior center to be used for some kind of veterans
We saw that, yeah.
services and things like that. And I do think that's a marriage
Oh,
made
yeah,
in
that
heaven
would be
right
perfect.
there in a lot of cases. So hopefully they can work something out.
So you all have to come to city council meeting and do this whole thing all over again, because we're making recommendations, but you need to pull at their heartstrings, because they're the ones that can make those kind of decisions, not us. Okay. I don't think I have anything else. Anybody else have anything else? The building itself looks nice. It wasn't a problem.
I would just like to thank the applicant for his presentation. I would like to thank all of the speakers for coming forward. It's important to have collaboration and everybody have a chance to say their piece so that they feel heard. So I would like everybody to, you've all been here for a good 3 hours. It's a good chunk of time. So thank you for investing in the community and allowing us to hear you. And hopefully we can all, get this worked out together so everybody's needs are met.
And I think once or twice in all of my time here, I thanked an audience for their behavior.
Politeness.
This will be the
Very.
third time
Thank you.
I've thanked an audience for their behavior. And it's well appreciated. Yeah, I love that.
I never had to scold anybody tonight.
Yeah, I'll give you credit for that one.
Yeah,
I
thank you
like
for
that.
listening to me. They're very obedient. So, very good at meetings. You guys are polite, so.
So do we get to move to the
You
next
do a lot of
item?
meetings. So, no, we have to close, well, we still, if everybody's done on this,
Get
I
control, Lisa.
have to close. Okay, we all laugh. Shh. Okay, we have to close the public comment. So everybody's done with this? Okay, so I'm going to close the public comment portion of the public hearing. And unless anybody has any further questions for staff, I'll take a motion.
I will move that we adopt staff recommendation with the added conditions of approval that we discussed, and I believe staff has documented, along with the commission's desire for the city council to engage on the issues that we discussed, notably the rafters and the historical.
Rafters, accommodation, relocation effort, K-HITS relocation, K-HITS monitor building for them.
That's a condition.
A condition, that's PC2.
Yeah.
So we have to add PC2 and PC1.
They've already done.
We did that. And notify, one of our wish lists was also notify the applicant of city events, right? That's what you said.
To limit the construction hours on those days that there are events.
And the parking structure is on the wish list.
Parking structure as well. Okay, so do we have a second with all of those things?
Yes, second.
Okay. Rachel, may we have a roll call?
Commissioner Burkhart,
Yes.
Commissioner Keith,
Yes.
Commissioner Werner,
Yes.
Vice Chair Light,
Yes.
Chair Eichmann.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. So I think we're going to take a break before the next one, because some of us have to use facilities. Okay, thank you guys, but we do have another item, so if you could quietly leave or be quiet, just stay in there, okay, so we can hear. The last item before us is Master Case 24-112. Andy Olson, Associate Planner, will be producing, I almost said.
Producing and presenting.
There you go.
Thank you. Well, good evening, Chair Eichmann and members of the Commission.
As you mentioned, the next item before you this evening is proposed amendments to the city's municipal code. So this is something that we periodically do to update our codes to make sure they stay up with current legislation, to address any issues we're finding, and to improve customer service. So I'll walk you through our proposed amendments this evening. And moving on, the amendments fall into three main categories that we'll look at. The first is amendments that will address state and federal legislation, so recent laws that we've seen go into effect. The second category is amendments that would streamline processes and enhance customer service. And lastly, there's amendments to ensure consistency and clarity in our code. These amendments were presented to the City Council's Development Committee last month, and we've incorporated their feedback on the amendments into what you see this evening. And with that, let's jump right in. So the first category, as I mentioned, is changes related to legislation that we've seen. And this should be familiar. This is what we were discussing with the prior item this evening. So really what we're looking to do with this amendment is to codify that parking demand study that we were talking about so that it's required for projects when they invoke AB 2097. The next changes relate to accessory dwelling units, or ADUs. So in late 2020, the Planning Commission considered an ADU ordinance that went to City Council, and the Council adopted that in the start of 2021. And we were compliant with state law when that ordinance went into effect. But state law has now changed on a couple different occasions for ADUs since we've adopted our ordinance. So in order to keep it up to date, there's a few changes that we need to make. The first is that the state has increased the allowable height for ADUs from 16 feet to a range of 18 to 25 feet, depending on the circumstance. The second item is related to multifamily properties. So this is where you have duplexes or townhomes or apartments, properties where there's more than one unit. Under our current code, we are required to permit up to 2 detached ADUs on the property, but the new state law requires that we permit up to 8 detached ADUs on the property as long as there's that many units on site as well. So whether this is a large 200-unit complex or a small 8-unit complex, we have to permit 8 ADUs on the site. Similarly, today, if a garage or a carport is demolished in order to construct an ADU, we can't require it to be replaced. The state has broadened that, and any parking that is removed to create an ADU, we cannot require an applicant to replace. So we'll codify all of these requirements through the amendments. The next item here is related to thrift stores. So currently, we require a minor use permit for a secondhand store or a conditional use permit for a thrift store when those new uses go in. There's a new state law that requires that we permit these stores by right, similar to how we treat regular retail uses. One good thing is that we can adopt development standards. So the proposed amendments would update our use charts, but also include development standards for donation collection. The last item on this slide is related to SB 35 projects. So SB 35 is a state law that went into effect several years ago, and it applies to certain multifamily projects. They have to meet requirements like 10% affordability, paying prevailing wage, and having a skilled and trained workforce. For SB 35 projects, there's now new legislation that says that the city cannot subject those projects to a conditional use permit or other non-legislative discretionary permits. So the proposed amendments would note the required compliance with state law. All right. The last legislative item here is related to cell sites, and this is something really regulated by the federal government, so the Federal Communications Commission. And this is specific to ground-mounted equipment for cell sites, not the towers themselves. So if you look at the image on the right here, if the black represents the cell tower itself, the blue box here shows the area where ground-mounted equipment would go for a cell site. If a new service provider comes in and wants to co-locate, so in other words, put their antennas on that same cell tower, right now we would require them to put all their equipment in that blue box. FCC has broadened that and said that we have to allow the equipment within 30 feet of the box. So a couple examples here of if you had new carriers coming in where that equipment might go. The good thing is it doesn't change our antenna heights, it doesn't change our process for cell sites or our screening requirements or noise requirements. It's just for ground equipment. And with that, we'll move on to the second category of changes. These are related to streamlining and customer service, so looking for areas to enhance and improve our code. The first one here is about the Jobs Creation Overlay Zone, or the JCAUZ. This was adopted by Council in August of 2019, and what this does is it allows for office and industrial projects to have additional height to be approved at the staff level. Because the JCAUZ was changing the process where you now had a project approved at a staff level rather than the planning commission. An important component of that was a 21-day appeal period for these projects. However, sometimes a JCOS project will still go to a public hearing. For example, if there is a hillside development review that requires planning commission's review. And in that case, our standard public hearing appeal period is 15 days. So there's a conflict between the two. So we're looking with these proposed amendments to make those two consistent, to have our consistent 15-day appeal period only for public hearing projects. Pardon me. All right, next is architectural enhancement. So in our commercial and our industrial and our higher density residential zones today, we allow for additional height on buildings to allow for architectural enhancement. So this is things like improving corners of buildings, having tower elements, having a varied roof line. So for the purposes of better architecture. Our mixed use zones and our corridor plans don't allow for this today. So we're looking to make those consistent with all those other zones I mentioned. All right, the last items here are related to commercial development. The first is for retail mobile pickup stalls. So this is where you have, say, a big box retailer, customers come, they park, and the order is brought out to their car. We've seen this coming through planning more often, and we're looking to adopt development standards that allow us to review those and to have clear standards of what we're looking for, so these can be processed more quickly, potentially over the counter, where they're not changing the site plan. The next item here is related to golf carts and low-speed vehicles, and this is specific to sales and services of those vehicles. So we don't have anywhere in our code right now that addresses golf carts or things that are like it. The most similar category we have is motorcycles. So we're looking to broaden the motorcycle sales and services category to encompass golf carts and other vehicles that fall into that same grouping. Lastly here, we require today a queuing analysis for any new drive-through use that comes in. What we want to do with these proposed amendments is just to require that if there's a local example of that same user, that be included in the analysis so that we have local representation there. All right. Moving over to the residential side of things. This next item, accessory structures, is related to things like pool houses, barns, detached garages. So this is not for ADUs or other homes on the property, and it's also not for things like a patio cover or barbecue. It's really for having another building on site where there's a home. The code today, the intent of how it was written was to use the zoning designation to assess the lot size and then allow for an appropriate number of structures. However, there are times when you may have a smaller lot that has a rural zoning designation or a larger lot that has a urban designation, but it may be appropriate to have more structures. So we're looking to amend the code to base it off of these lot sizes in order to have an appropriate number of structures on site. In terms of residential energy storage, this is related to residents installing backup batteries or similar things in their homes. So this is not commercial battery storage. These development standards would treat backup batteries and other things like them similar to water heaters or other equipment that you see today going into homes.
I'm sorry, what is the change there?
So the change would be to add standards for these specifically in the code. The code just does not explicitly address these yet because they're newer. So the last item here is to expand who can be held accountable for public nuisances. So code enforcement will often deal with things like loud parties or commercial events or high occupancy events on residential properties. And if we expand this definition, they will have another tool in their toolbox to enforce against short-term rental companies and other parties who are enabling these nuisances to happen. So this will give code enforcement another tool to use. All right, the third category of proposed changes are more minor consistency and cleanup items. So just to summarize here, the first two that you see for ridgeline alteration and commercial gating, those are processes that were updated in prior code updates. There are just references in the code that we need to correct that reference those, so we'll make those updates. Similarly, there's a typo for the personal services use in the Old Town New Hall specific plan, so we'll make that correction as well. A few years ago, we updated the development code to talk about, rather than open space for multifamily projects, we talk about private outdoor space, so balconies and yards, and then shared recreation space, so pools and gyms and so forth for multifamily projects. The specific plan, and the Old Town New Hall specific plan and corridor plans don't use that language today, so we're just looking to bring them consistent. Lastly, for this section, we have an affordable housing and a density bonus land use chart in our code that have now been superseded by state legislation. So we're looking to remove those because the code references the appropriate state laws. On the clarification side of things, we're looking to clarify that commercial auto storage is usually, but not always, for a fee. Again, this is something in support of code enforcement. And lastly, we're looking just to clarify what the setback and other development standards are for things like emergency generators and detached patio covers for residential properties. So the next steps in the process would be, upon Planning Commission's recommendation, if you choose to recommend to Council, would be to go to City Council for a first reading of an ordinance and then a second reading in May. All noticing has been completed as required by law, including an ad being placed in the signal. And these amendments are exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act as a common sense exemption. So in conclusion, staff recommends the Planning Commission adopt Resolution P2504, recommending the City Council adopt these development code and specific plan amendments. That's my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Before we open the public comment portion, do you guys have any questions for staff? Okay.
It's not a question, it's just a comment. I appreciate eliminating the parking within the 1 mile radius. I think it makes it cleaner, as we saw tonight, and as we've talked about, we can't, state law dictates, right, whether parking's allowed within the transit. By eliminating it, you don't get those charts that we saw today, which show how much we would be short if it was required within the half mile. So I think this is a good step to do to be consistent with state law. Because then it'll make, as applicants come in, it's a cleaner process than looking like a comparison, because that's hard to see when you see they're 73 short, since we just saw that tonight. So be consistent. We can't fight state law, as we talked about in Sacramento. So I appreciate that the city's looking at this and updating the code. I think it'll be cleaner moving forward.
Anybody else? No. Okay. Rachel, we don't have any speakers for this, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so I'm going to open the public hearing and close the public hearing. And then, unless the commission has anything further for staff, I'll take a motion in a second.
I'll move to adopt Resolution P2504.
Second. Okay. Rachel, can we have a roll call?
Commissioner Keith,
Yes.
Commissioner Werner,
Yes.
Commissioner Burkhart,
Yes.
Vice Chair Light,
Yes.
Chair Eichmann.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. At this time, I'll turn the meeting over to Patrick LeClaire for the planning manager's report.
All right, good evening again, Commissioners. Patrick LeClaire, Planning Manager with the City's Planning Division. Just wanted to walk you through the next couple of meetings that are on our forecast, as I will do. Our next meeting we expect will be April 15th, and at that point in time, we have a project that will be coming up, will be an amendment to the Metro Walk specific plan. There's some proposed amendments that they're finding out need to be made to their specific plan to allow some flexibility, and we'll bring those up for the Commission to consider at that meeting. Next, I think some of you may have heard, others just wanted to make sure you're aware, the original second budget study session, the joint session between the Council and Commissions, was originally scheduled for May 6th. That had been moved to April 29th. So it would be on the 5th Tuesday of the month. So I just wanted to put that on everyone's radar. If you didn't have that, wanted to mention that that had moved. And then the next meeting after that would be May 20th. At that meeting, we have a few different items that will be on the agenda, or that are attempting to be on that agenda, I should say. One of them that will be certain is the CIP budget conformance item that would be required to come back as a part of the budget process. The Commission makes a finding that the CIP project list is consistent with the general plan. So we'll have a presentation from the staff for the Commission at that meeting. And then a couple of other items, a couple of smaller residential projects, and then maybe one or the Newhall Avenue mixed use project. There's a project over across from Carl Court that has been being worked on for a while. That project may be ready to come back to the Commission at that point as well. So it looks like we'll have maybe 2 or 3 items on the agenda that evening for May 20th. That concludes my comments for now, and I'm available for any questions that you may have.
Okay, does anybody have any questions?
April 15, April 29, May 20?
That's correct.
Okay, let me write those too. Okay. Commissioners, do you have any reports?
No.
Okay. We do have one written comment card for public participation. We don't have any speakers, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And this is for the Wiley Canyon project, and it's from Robert Weston Monroe, and saying he's neutral on the project. That's all I have to do for this, correct? Okay. So I will go ahead and take a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Adjourned.